live and all right.
Stretching. There it is.
Yep. Okay. We are live. And we're going to start talking anyway and hope that we have, 2, maybe 3 more joining us, but not sure. And let's see, we're going to share out to a couple other places.
Yeah, I can share it out a few times if you want.
Yeah, okay.
That way, hopefully it's popped up.
Yep. All right. Let's see, Brian, where are you putting the YouTube link in
There
anywhere, or do you want me to do it?
I can.
In Truth Palm, I guess. I mean,
I do that.
I haven't been posting there, but that would be cool. And I'll do. Here we are. Okay. Hi, everybody. We're gonna talk about lots of different things. What integrity and who knows?
Yeah,
anything and everything.
It's gonna deep dive. I'm sure.
Yeah.
It'll bounce around as it usually does.
This is true. Okay. And okay. There we go. Okay, so Krish is here.
Hello.
Doing his stand-up tour and back to Chapel Hill for how many times have you been here now?
A bunch.
A bunch.
I don't even remember what the first time that I came through.
You said
Hill
you had
was.
an earlier one, like 2013.
But I'd been through Chapel Hill a few times at that point. Probably like 2012. No, maybe even before that.
Mm-hmm.
Or we tried to come through. I can't really remember. It was like 2013, 2014 we came through. But yeah, and it's sort of an interesting little city.
Yeah, how do you describe it?
There's a bunch of like pretty progressive people here, but there's also like a contingent of like corporate Democrat that
yes.
sort of, and it's sort of it's like the open secret no one wants to talk about because the venue that I was at, Zog's, I feel like is very much a very progressive, like, you know, I would be surprised if they weren't Bernie supporters from the get-go.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
I think the term is usually granola.
Oh.
They're kind of a granola kind of place, right? I think
yeah.
Mandy's had some problems that I remember seeing. Like, there were some people that kind of like the regular bar crowd that would randomly show up because it's right next to the university, so it's like there's a place just to go get like cheap drinks for college kids, and sometimes they can get rowdy and sometimes they can get a little shitty. So she's had to deal with that sort of stuff. I think she's had to deal with like race issues because that's sort of which is just weird. It's like, why are you going to that kind of a bar? Mm-hmm. Why are you going to like this weird little hippie dive bar? Mm-hmm. But yeah, I used to come to DSI a whole bunch. I've done a show at the Cave, which was a weird show. I think you were there when we did the show at the Cave.
And it really is a cave. It's like down underground, and it's really small, and
it's 100% underground, and it's super super weird. Well, it's super weird in the sense that you have a rotating crowd of people that are in there. So when it's for bands, I think it works great because when you come in, there's music playing. You're like, oh, cool, there's music playing, right? So if it's just a place where like bands are coming in and they're collecting cover at the door, and at the end of the night you get paid, cool. That place is awesome. Right. But for comedy, something that you have to pay attention to all the time, it is difficult.
Well, people are coming in and out of the door right in front of the stage. So
and then it's also like if they come in halfway through your set, they have no idea what you're talking about, and then they get confused and put off by the fact that they're not in on the thing, and then they're just like, well, why should I give a shit when I'm not in on the thing? Like, I'm not invested in this, so why should I care? So they kind of just stop paying attention, I guess.
So I thought of something I just want to talk about for a sec, and that's the kind of, you mentioned the hippie kind of granola.
Yeah.
But so this isn't Asheville, and that's very different. And I thought it was really interesting, your experience with the audience in Asheville too, maybe compared to here. But what really struck me is, there's a map that shows the counties, the zip codes, that got the most money, per zip code for the Bernie campaign, got the most money from those zip codes. And my zip code here, I'm technically in Carborough, which is just the butt end of Chapel Hill, but this zip code...
Chapelboro?
Yeah.
Isn't that
they call it that. But this zip code has one of the highest, maybe there was only one other place in the country that gave the most to Bernie. And I think it's got to be UNC students. But I thought it was interesting because, when everything changed and when Bernie backed Hillary... in Asheville, I think a lot more people went Green Party, whereas here it pretty much just was like, okay, we fall. It's an any blue will do, as you said, corporate kind of.
Yeah, and that's honestly a little surprising with Asheville, is because when you kind of bring that sort of stuff up, like especially third party type stuff, and they do get kind of uncomfortable about it.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, I think
maybe it's that crowd. Your crowd was kind of older, I noticed.
Oh, the night that you're talking about. Yeah,
but
they also get real. I think Asheville has a tendency. It's a fun town, but I think Asheville is going that way of like, oh, there's cool things. There's an all vegan bar that's where the show was, which is cool, and that place has been very good to me coming through.
We don't have to name it.
It's a really cool spot, but I think. I think Asheville's going in that direction of like, now that the cool thing is here, let's raise the prices of everything around this thing. So it's sort of the trap of gentrification.
Yes.
Unfortunately, that like
sure.
Places like, I'm from Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh has fought gentrification as much as it can in every neighborhood that it can, including the one that I live in. So like people like me are seen as threats in Pittsburgh because we're artists, and usually when artists show up to a neighborhood, we make it cool and hip, and a bunch of people that don't live in the neighborhood come into the neighborhood, and then people are like, oh, this is interesting. Yeah, and then they start buying shit, or they'll buy different properties, and they'll skyrocket the rent, or they'll skyrocket the property value, and people get nervous about that. So people are usually timid around us. But I mean, every single business that's around my neighborhood, the owners either live in that neighborhood or at some point have lived in that neighborhood, so they're invested in the place. I think with Asheville, I don't know if that's the case. I don't get the sense if that's the case. If anybody has a different experience with Asheville,
well, I moved there in '96.
Tell me.
So it was just, there was like pretty much nothing there, and if I'd only bought property back then. But Asheville is a very strange little, its own little island. I mean, and it is very progressive, but you also have a huge gap between the rich and the poor, because you've got so many people that moved in from wherever, up north, New York, California. Yeah, it is very expensive.
It's very expensive over there now.
Well, it's expensive here too.
Yeah.
Everyone's shocked. Like when they come here, it's North Carolina, it's cheap, right? No, it's really not. Groceries are a lot.
Yeah, I've done shopping here.
Yes, you have. You have. Right. Okay, and you're headed next to...
I'm going to Knoxville tomorrow, Huntsville on Sunday, and then I'm in Atlanta for the Atlanta Fringe next week. So,
Huntsville, Alabama.
Huntsville, Alabama. I recorded my album there.
Oh,
yeah.
Right. How does that go?
Coming out tomorrow.
How does that go?
It goes great.
Please, plug your...
Oh, my album's called Empathy on Sale.
Isn't that great?
It's available on Bandcamp and iTunes, and there's a video special thing that I did with it. If you go to my website at ramennoodlescomedy.com, it's RAMAN noodlescomedy.com. It's all available on the homepage. So yeah, Huntsville is great. I like touring the South. I'm one of those weird people that I've been touring the South for maybe 3 or 4 years, and I like it a lot because I think people care a lot more here. Not that they don't in New York. It's just I think like my wife loves New York, and part of it is like if you're weird in New York, that's fine. That's just par for the course. But I think you got to be excited about something. You know what I mean? Like I feel like when you're just like, oh, this weird thing is just the norm. It's just like really, but that's like the exciting thing about human beings is that we have these quirks and we think we need to hold them in. But like, don't you want to be excited about stuff? I don't know. I'm sure my wife would disagree with me. But I love coming to the South. I love coming to the Midwest. I think, but I also think like, people like John Oliver, Trevor Noah, Hassan Minaj, Hari Kondabol, like all these bigger names, sort of quote unquote lefty comedians are not coming.
We have to get into what lefty means there, but okay.
More towards like the liberally and politics, talking about issues and whatnot. I don't know how much they're coming down to perform in areas like Greenville, and if they are coming to areas like Greenville, they're not performing anywhere within maybe 6 hours or something like that, or but
just
it's
big
also
cities.
it's also the tickets are expensive. So whenever someone like me shows up and the tickets are $5, I think a lot more people do get excited about it because they're not. But it's also I think Hassan Minaj might be a little bit different, but like Trevor Noah is not great, and I get in trouble because people like don't, and I don't like talking shit on comics, but like Trevor Noah is not great.
No.
I'm kind of upset at the fact that he took like one of the most quintessential political comedy shows and basically neutered it. He neutered the show. And I think he went out specifically to say that he's not really going to address issues, like he doesn't feel that's his place or something. And I'm like, that's literally the fucking show. That's literally the show you fucking
That's the show, buddy. Yeah.
Well, so I have a theory, about Jon Stewart. I really think that Jon Stewart, part of his retiring early was he saw what was coming. And, I mean, you can see this interview with him with Charlie Rose right after the election.
Yeah.
And in it, he says, I have neighbors that voted for Trump. They're not racist, whatever, and says all this stuff. They're worried about their insurance premiums.
Right.
And so he was kind of calling out like other things like, what is this really going to change? But anyway, I just feel like Jon Stewart was the best. I mean, I used to love Stephen Colbert. I can't stomach 5 seconds of his show now. But
no, his show is it's very disappointing because Stephen Colbert just goes down the track of like, very, and I'm going to use a big word, a very sophomorically attacking Trump.
So old and boring. It's so non-creative. And I think Jon Stewart saw what was coming and said, I'm not going to be able to play that game, and they're going to can me anyway, so I'm just going to retire.
I think there's more to it than that.
Okay.
I was listening to something yesterday. I can't remember who it was talking about it, but said you could really see what was happening to Stewart toward the end there when he had that big rally.
Oh, right.
The rally for sanity?
With Stephen Colbert.
He had this perfect opportunity to tell the people there, here's the real problem. Really call out the corruption, call out the root issues. And instead, what does he do? He sits there and goes, well, we just need to zipper it up. Let them have a turn and then we'll take it. What the hell is that? What the hell was that? He had this perfect opportunity to really lay it down and get people riled up and pissed off. And he dropped the ball. Why would he have done that? I think what happened was, I think he got a payoff.
Oh, well, that too, yeah.
I think the guy got a payoff.
Well, he also his kids were pretty young, and he did mention that. Like, I never see my kids, and so, yeah.
His kids are pretty young. He was on Comedy Central.
A long time.
Yeah, which is a
He
Viacom
was
company.
doing better news.
Yes.
He was doing better news. He was doing better news while being restricted by whoever was advertising with Viacom, which is not just whoever was advertising on Comedy Central, but it was just like all of the people that were so. And again, it's like there was a big joke about him going after Arby's, but that was because Arby's played along. And he does, and he did hit Arby's kind of hard, but that was the thing, is like that's sort of the great thing about Jon Stewart is he went after both sides. He criticized people. He criticized people the way they need to be criticized, while being restrained by being on cable. And I think that's a pretty large feat. When Trevor Noah kind of took over, that's our coffee table book in my house.
What year was this? I forget now.
2001.
No,
I think I bought it when I was in high school.
Oh my god, I'm old. You were in high school?
I was in high school, I think, when this. 2004. 2004.
Okay, this book is as old as Zoe. So wow. Okay.
One of my roommates, when I was in the Navy, had a copy, and I read through it. Well, he had.
Oh yeah, there's like the naked Supreme Court justices. Or something.
There is, because you're supposed to dress them. You're supposed to dress the Supreme Court justices. It's one of the funniest things in there.
Yeah.
It's.
Anyway, we miss Jon Stewart. He should come back.
Well, he's doing. I think he's doing stuff with Chappelle now.
Oh, okay.
I think he does stuff with Radio City Music Hall and stuff. But that's sort of the thing. Is I think the nature of political comedy is a lot of political comedy kind of plays it safe, and I kind of steered away from calling myself a political comic for a while, because what political comedy essentially meant after 2016 was you go on stage and you make fun of Trump. And it's like I have no interest in doing that.
It's just boring.
Yeah.
It's so boring. Like, how many orange hair?
SNL does it every damn week. Why do we need anybody else doing it? I mean, it's a waste.
But that was the thing, is like after it was like January of 2017 or something like that, and the election happened, and I have to talk friends off ledges. Like, one of my friends was at the bar 4 or 5 drinks in at like 11 a.m. At the day after the election, right? And it's like, you're too drunk for me to like rally you back into some logic. But that was the thing, is like, man, people just kind of lost it, and then it was really funny to me, because a bunch of these comics that have never done political comedy before, and that kind of preach this idea of like, oh, if you have a message with comedy, like, what are you trying to prove? Or it's not really comedy if you have a message behind it, because there's a whole faction of comedians that believe that. But those type of comics,
that's the best comedy.
It's what sells.
Yeah.
So you know, that's what you gotta do. There's certain places that won't book you at all if you even go anywhere near politics or anywhere near religious jokes.
You have to make fun of it. It's so absurd.
Well,
but
right.
You know what? I think there's only one Trump joke that's funny. One person to me, and that is good old David Letterman's Trump or Monkey. Do you guys remember this?
No.
You don't remember?
I'm not a big Letterman fan.
Oh, that's right. You're so young. Okay, you know what?
I never got into
Well, I get in trouble if I play some. I might do it on here. I've never had this happen when I've shown something from YouTube.
Oh, there's a.
But oh god, yeah, it's so
is there a
funny.
blocker on here? Oh, okay.
I don't know. Let's see. We'll try it. I might get whatever they say.
Oh, they might put a copyright restriction.
Strike, copyright strike.
I don't even know.
I don't
even know
think
if it'll play it on here though.
Oh yeah,
right?
it will.
Like OBS.
It will. I'll show you.
Okay.
Hang on. It's so funny. It was a regular thing that he used to do.
I think I caught maybe a couple segments of that.
Yeah,
it was pretty funny.
Oh, it's hilarious. Okay, I'm gonna play it, and if we get in trouble, then oh well.
The follow.
Okay, hang on. And this, look, I just wanted, before I play this, say, I hate Trump jokes. I think it's stupid and overdone, and I ignore all of it. And this is the only one that's funny, ever, okay? That's my opinion on that, okay. All right, hang on, let me I can get this right. Can Kelly do the screen share correctly? We will try. Am I on? Yep, I think I did it. I did it.
Cool.
Okay, here we
Awesome.
go. Here we go.
All right.
Ready?
The following program contains graphic images of Donald Trump's hair.
Oh, that's what he started. How old is this?
I remember. Early 2000s?
Yeah,
Maybe
early
late
to
90s?
mid-2000s.
Late 90s?
Yeah.
I know I shouldn't be making fun of anybody's hair, but honestly, I just gave up. See, Donald Trump has not given up on his hair. Look at that, he's got
Oh man, that's upsetting.
flanges and wings and flaps, yeah, extensions and multiple
That's
parts
upsetting.
and comb overs. I mean, he's really getting his money's worth there. But me, I just said, buzz it, I don't care. So, at any rate, with that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to play Trump or Monkey. Let's go back into
Trump or Monkey.
How do you do, ma'am? Nice to see you. Rupert, introduce your friend there, will you?
Well, the contestant is Chrissy Dahl.
Okay. Well, what we're playing tonight is something called Trump or Monkey.
Trump or Monkey.
Right, that's funny. Are you familiar with Donald Trump?
I am.
He's like a billionaire construction mogul and apartment guy here in the city. And he's like a fixture in New York, and he has his own television show on NBC. And Rupert put up the chart there. You see, we have 3 examples there of hair.
Oh wow.
Now, we want you girls to look them over. One of those is a monkey. You understand? 2 of them are actually Donald Trump. One is a monkey. So you can
Go
talk
with
it
that
over
first
between
one.
yourselves and then
That
make
first
your
one's the
selection.
monkey.
And while you're thinking about it, Alan, what are we playing for tonight? Dave, it's a brand new speedboat. Back to you, Dave.
Oh, shit. Just a quick little splash of
Uh-huh.
Have you
nothing
looked over the
there.
examples there? They're talking it over. One of them is a monkey. We're looking for the monkey. We
That
don't want
first one.
Donald. We want the monkey. But no fair looking behind there, Chrissy.
Dave, I think we've settled on number 1. Is the
Yeah.
monkey.
All right, number 1 being which one? Right there?
This one.
That one is the monkey. And Jessica, what do you think?
I agree.
All right, so of the 3, you believe that's the monkey. All right, Rupert, reveal.
Oh no. Oh, that's very upsetting.
God.
Now I want to know which one the monkey is. It's like there's like a perfect line there.
Try one more.
Yeah.
Try
Right.
one more, just for the fun of it.
We picked number 2.
Number
Dave.
2.
Here,
All right,
let's
we're
just go
looking
down
for
the
monkey.
line.
Take a look. Open it up, Rupert.
Is that the monkey?
There
it
you
is.
go, there you go.
Okay. Very stylish monkey. We gotta give him that.
And open up the last one, Rupert, so we get a look at number 3. There you go. Well, that's. I'm
Is
sorry
that
you
his
didn't
painting?
win
It's like
on,
his portrait.
the Trump or monkey, but there are no losers in Rupert G's Hello Deli. What do you have for them, girls?
Oh, it's
Okay.
a nice deli tray. That's nice. It's a good meal. It's a good meal. It's a nice snack.
The beautiful Rupert
That they
G
can
Hello
get.
Deli platter. Thank you
Okay,
very
here
much.
we go.
Enjoy
We
your
stopped.
stay in New York City and salute our friends in San Diego.
Oh, hang on.
Thank you very much for helping out. That's Chrissy
Ah.
and Jessica.
No, I can't stop it. Hang on, hang on, hang on. Okay. Oh, shoot. I have a problem.
What are we
Hang
doing
on,
here?
guys.
I tell you what,
Where'd it go?
Uh-oh. Oh, no. Hang on.
we're going to do it now. I want to get something off my
Technical
chest.
difficulties.
It's sort of a
The whole
semi-serious
thing
Hang
just
on,
disappeared.
hang on.
I'm very
Might
serious
help
about
if I
this. A
have
couple
my-
years ago, NBC came to me and they said, Dave,
Okay,
we
hang
couldn't
on.
be happier with you. We
Where
couldn't
the
be
hell
more
did
proud
it-
of the show.
Where did it
And everything is doing so
disappear?
well. We would like
Okay,
to
this is
redecorate your
fancy.
office. Top to bottom, wallpaper,
Holy
carpet,
crap.
anything you
What
want.
am I gonna do?
Chandeliers,
I
entryways,
seriously don't know
the
where it
whole
went.
thing. we'll do it. We'll pick up the tab.
What
You
is
just tell us
going
what you
on?
want." And I said,
Oh,
"This is
no.
very,
This
very
is
No, I'm
good."
serious.
And
No.
of course, I'm
What?
flattered, but my
Gotta
wife
be on a
needs
tab.
to-
It's not there.
And I
It's
told
not
her
on the
this is what
tab.
I
I'm
wanted.
serious. It's
And we
not
put together
there.
some plans,
Gotta be.
and as the plans got
It's
put
not
together,
there.
they kept
gone.
Wait.
How about this? How about a shoe shine?
Is it
What
on
in
How about
the
an
hell?
outdoor motor and
Did
on?
it go to
No,
a
it's
different
gone.
screen?
Bar? How about
Okay, you know
a
what?
It's just going to be in the background the whole
on
time.
and on and
It's
on.
David
I thought,
Leonard.
well, okay, sure,
I'm
the
gonna
motor
have to
needs-
stop the
okay, sure,
thing
we'll
and
do it.
restart
Well, to
it.
make a long
I
story
can't.
short, if that's
I don't know
possible,
what. Okay, wait.
Yeah, it totally disappeared.
Hold on. It just
Um,
disappeared. Hang on. Let me close things out.
Finally,
Yeah, we're gonna just
NBC,
sit here and
we hear
listen
back.
to
We hear
Letterman.
nothing from them, and we're beginning now to
Yeah.
hear rumblings.
I don't know.
That
Not
is
anything
bizarre.
directly from
It's
them.
gone.
So they sent like a little
Wait.
legal emissary down.
Here?
And we
Hang
said,
on.
whatever
Check your
happened?
tab. There
There
you
it
go.
is.
There it
Like 2
is.
years ago.
All right.
And they said,
There he
Okay.
is. Old Dave.
Wait.
Classic Dave.
Yeah, that's really old.
that's
Okay,
an
that
old
was
one.
bizarre. It just.
Yeah.
I hit
It
stop
switched the
share.
screens over.
I've never seen it do that. Learn something new every day. I hit stop share and it disappeared down into the bottom of my. Never mind.
I don't even know. I feel like this is going to get so many copyright tags. I feel like
It might.
there's going to be a bunch of
It
them.
might, but I've done it
Uh,
before and nothing happened. So I just want.
Yeah, I feel like they're not cutting the stream out or anything. They're just going to like be
I
like,
mean,
oh,
you-
you can't make money off of this. And it's like, no, it's making money
No.
off YouTube. Come on. Like,
No, and plus you have to sit through a long time of us talking before you get to the little tiny bit of YouTube that I play. But I always thought that was really funny, but the rest of the Trump jokes, no. So
Well, I feel
when
like-
you hear a
but that's
Trump
also-
joke,
how
just
old is
say
that,
that's
you know?
old, but it's
Right.
it recycles well.
Trump makes his own Trump jokes. Nobody needs to do
That's
it
true.
for him.
That's
yeah, I think he just recently claimed that methane is freedom molecules, which is like, wow, that's bold. That's bold to just you just change science.
Well, wasn't it like 6 months ago or something? He talked about windmills giving people cancer.
Oh right.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the thing, right? It's
I mean-
like if you do quote unquote political comedy, like that's what you make fun of. That you kind of just go after him, and there was there was just an endless slew of jokes about like, oh, he thinks it gives you cancer. Windmills give you cancer, and it's like I don't know exactly what he was going for, but there's always something where it's like I've talked to older people that are in their 70s that just like hear a weird thing on the TV, and then that's the thing that they're going to be latched onto, and then
Right.
they're like, did you hear about
Yes.
the thing? Like my mom does that, you
And
know,
they
like my
repeat.
mom.
Right.
Yeah.
What's weird is once you haven't had television, it's been 3 years now for me. I haven't had cable.
Yeah.
And when you start realizing, you start hearing people, they're all saying the same things. You're like, oh, so that's what's circulating this week.
Right.
Because people say things, but you hear it on repeat, and you know that they didn't come up with that themselves. They're repeating the talking points that they heard on television. It's bizarre.
And
like, once you've removed yourself from it. And you
Yeah, and
see that.
that's kind of what. But then it's like, oh, this is the camaraderie that we can kind of get behind. Is we're gonna make fun of Trump, and it's
Yeah.
like we're not really talking about anything, though. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Oh, and the other thing, I made this point to someone who is kind of into, I don't know, I guess sort of deep state stuff. But anyway, one of the things that bothers me about when I see these comedy shows and they're making fun of Trump, it makes me think of the scene in V for Vendetta. And I'm not going to play YouTube again because then I will get in trouble. And plus, we won't know what happened to it when I hit stop. But there's a scene. Do you know the movie?
I do know. the
Okay,
movie.
you know
yeah.
the movie? Okay.
Spoilers
Okay, well,
for
if anybody who
a
hasn't
12-year-old
seen
movie.
yeah,
Just
right.
in case. You never know. Nerds are very sensitive, and they'll get real mad.
Yeah, well, we're talking about such old things, you know, Trump or Monkey, V for Vendetta, you know, things
Should we have
when
done a
you were in
spoiler
high
for
school.
Letterman? I don't know. I feel like we should have. I feel like that's where we fucked up, Kelly, because we didn't put a spoiler alert before we played a clip from
That's
YouTube.
it. That's
Yeah.
it.
Something
Well,
anybody
there-
could have searched.
That's true. Well, so there's this scene in V for Vendetta where I can't remember the whole story. It's been a while since I've seen the movie, but it's like I think it's the Chancellor is like going on the comedy show or something.
Oh,
And there's all
yeah.
and they
Mhm.
pan and show the audience and all these clueless people that don't have any idea what's going on. They're all just at everything, you know. And that's how I feel a lot of times when I see Stephen Colbert, when I can stomach 5 seconds a night where I happen to pass by it. And I see him doing that, and it's like everyone's just, it's like it's that scene from V for Vendetta. Like you have no idea what's actually going on, and you're
Right.
being amused, but the joke's on you. Like
Right.
that's
Yeah.
how I feel. It's really weird. It's
Well,
like
and that was the switch.
disconcerting.
I think that was the switch that everybody was really concerned about with Stephen Colbert. Is
Mhm.
he kind of did have a really, really good show,
Mhm.
and it was a show that I think had never really been done before. Because which is like this Steve Martin-esque political satire comedy show of somebody playing a Republican, but still somehow criticizing Republicans.
Mhm.
It was great.
Right.
Well,
It
but
was
we
awesome.
couldn't really tell where he stood. It was always so ambiguous.
That was the point of it, I think.
I'm so
which
sorry.
was
I
kind
have
of a
to-
great thing.
I
No,
have
no,
to
you're
go
good.
for just a second because Zoe needs me. I'll be
Okay,
right back.
yeah.
Okay.
You guys have it.
But that was sort of the awesome part about Stephen Colbert is that
Right.
you didn't know where he stood, but he still had a
Right.
way of criticizing people in the Republican Party and in the Democratic Party without you knowing exactly where he stood, and it was funny, and I think everybody kind of liked that about him because the genius of it is like Republicans would watch that show and be like, "Fuck yeah, that's what it's all about," and then Democrats would be like, "Look how crazy Republicans are," and it kind of like, I don't know, it just worked, you know, like
Right.
it was entertaining, it was exciting to watch that. But then the second he switched over to CBS, which was a network show, that's when I had the concern of like, can you, one, what do you do without the character? But two, are you going to be as biting as you used to be? And
No.
the answer is no, you're not,
Yeah.
because you have a lot more restrictions on a network like that. And I think we kind of saw it. Like my wife and I used to watch his monologues before bed, and you know, like maybe one or two in, I started getting pretty critical of them, and then I was like, I gotta stop because it's just I'm not having fun. I just kind of feel shitty at the fact that like this is what gets on television when I know there's so many comics out there that work really hard to talk about real issues rather than
Right.
just go and
Yeah.
be like, doesn't Trump's hair look weird? Like you know what I mean? Like that Letterman clip is at least 15, 20 years old, and it was like that we're still making that same joke. Like
Yeah.
after Letterman did it, we're still doing, and that's the quintessential top of political comedies is ridiculous to me, which is
Right.
part of the reason why I stopped. I was like, I don't think I want to be referred to as a political comic because people are going to interpret that the wrong way, and I have no intention of going on stage and talking about Trump. I have no intention.
Right.
The way I describe it is that he is a symptom of a much larger disease,
Oh yeah.
and I would rather talk about the disease. Because I think the disease is what needs
Trump
to be
is,
cured.
is an escalation. I mean,
Yeah.
it started when you had an actor who had the ability to become president, and it's just snowballed from there. After an actor, then a former head of the CIA, and then it's just progressively worse. We end up with Bush, and then we end up with Trump. I mean, it's just who's going to be next if we continue down this path.
Well, and that was sort of the thing. I think that people were the start of the disillusionment was with what happened with Obama, because Obama represented something so much bigger for a lot of people. Because right, he wasn't an actor that became a governor. He wasn't the former head of the CIA that was an insider within the Republican Party. He wasn't some, Arkansas rich boy that knew how to play the saxophone real good.
Right.
He was a black kid that came up in the streets of Chicago and worked really hard and got to the most powerful seat in America and promised to help the people of this country that are struggling And then you kind of see him picking his cabinet based on what is it, Goldman Sachs and Citibank? Citibank was it? Yeah.
Citibank picked the cabinet.
Yeah, so you kind of see that, and that's a huge betrayal. It's I think it's the start of the disillusionment, right? And you can see somebody like Obama go up on stage and very articulately and very perfectly talk about how we need to stop climate change and how climate change is terrible and evil and bad and everything, and then sign a bill for Shell and Exxon to go drill in the Arctic, which is like, why?
Right.
Why? Like, why is that the place that you need to go drill in?
Right.
So it just felt it was the start of the disillusion, and I think that's part of the reason why people like Bernie and why people like Tulsi run within the Democratic Party is because you need to expose the cracks in order to fill them. And I think that's what that's kind of what he did, right? I know it's not the greatest answer.
But it really isn't.
But I think that's part of the reason why they do it is you go and you run as something that doesn't work to show how it doesn't work, because people just believe that the Democratic Party is the party of virtuous justice, and it's not. They're just not. They're almost no different than the Democrats are. Let's not forget that the Louisiana governor that signed the abortion ban bill very recently is a Democrat.
He's a Democrat, yeah.
Joe Biden is a Democrat. Kamala Harris is a Democrat. That both of them have really bad crime bills that put more black people in prison because of nonviolent offenses. Because smoking weed was a criminal offense, right? You still have Democrats that are against Julian Assange, that think that he needs to be extradited and charged with treason when he's not a citizen of this country. Those become bipartisan policies, right? So I think people like Tulsi and Bernie need to run within this party so that they can expose the cracks, so people can go, maybe need something.
Have Bernie, who hasn't yet even mentioned Assange.
I think there might have been one article today that said that he broke his silence. I saw a headline about that today. I haven't gotten a chance to read the article, but I saw a headline that I think him and Elizabeth Warren finally broke their silence about it. But yeah, I think, for a while it was like, what is happening? Like, why isn't Bernie saying anything about how this is really dangerous for journalism? Because I think America just joined that list, right? Like, I think America has officially now joined the list of countries where it's like legitimately too dangerous to be a journalist.
Well, here's the deal. Kelly and I work for an organization that's very anti-corruption. But in talking to the head of this organization, he was very standoffish about our decision to come out, in favor of Assange. And how can you be anti-corruption if we don't have the means to know about it in the first place? And that's what journalism does.
Right.
If we don't know about it, you can't be anti-corruption. The two things go hand in hand.
Yeah. I think my biggest thing with this whole thing that I think is extremely silly is, one, why are we imprisoning Julian Assange for revealing war crimes? And
Right.
Chelsea Manning. Chelsea Manning also revealed U.S. war crimes, but the people that committed that crime are fine. Nothing
has happened to them. They're walking free. That makes no sense. Makes no sense.
Right. And the second aspect of it is I think it really shows a complete lack of understanding of what journalism is supposed to be. Right. I think journalism is supposed to be something that helps people think critically.
Right.
That you get certain information about the way the world is working, and the people are supposed to read that and go, well, that's interesting, and then form their own opinions and form their own decisions about what that means to them.
Right.
We are not doing that.
No.
I think fundamentally we're
journalists
not.
today, if you can call them that, are just spouting their own opinions based on what they're basically handed as news,
Yeah.
and then they're telling everybody else this is the way you need to think. That's not journalism.
No, that is pretty much propaganda.
That's exactly what it is.
It's just not great propaganda.
Hey, sorry, I'm going to
no,
be
you're
away for a few minutes. So I was thinking if you wanted to put the Zoom link in the Truth Bomb chat, just if anybody wanted to join in. I don't know where
Yeah.
our other guests went, but obviously something came up, so I have no idea.
Really
That's
said they
okay.
should all be in prison.
Anyway, but I don't know if anyone else wants to jump in, but I'll be back in
Yeah.
a few. So okay.
Yeah, I think there is a fundamental lack of understanding in what journalism is and what people people assume journalism is. And that's the thing is, like, I think right now in terms of corporate media, in terms of mainstream media, Tucker Carlson is probably the most interesting quote unquote journalist that's on any
I
network.
would have to agree.
You
Yeah,
know,
I would have to agree with that.
he's he's an anti-war libertarian is kind of what he is, and I think that's so interesting that he's on there because he did speak out against the Iraq War, but he is very like pro-cop, or anti-immigration reform. And I think he went on the Intercepted podcast, and this is, I think, maybe 2 years ago now. But he had a long conversation with Glenn Greenwald, and Greenwald and him, Glenn Greenwald didn't like yell at him or anything. He just kind of was just like, so how are you against the state of immigration reform? Like, why do you think we should be building a wall or whatever the question was at the time? But he very rationally explained like why he's anti-immigration reform, why he's anti-amnesty, what that would do economically, and that was the weird thing. It's like anytime you kind of get into that point, especially with anybody that's libertarian, that's going to take somewhat of a less social stance, it's always boiled down to the economics of things. The economics of things is what is the problem for them. Is this like the way we're spending our money doesn't seem to be the right thing to do. The way we're spending our money seems irresponsible. Like it's not going to benefit the people. And he kind of gave this wishy-washy response but it was very much in that sense of like you heard him talk, and to me it was like I don't think you have a real strong way to address this issue, other than the fact that like you think our money is being spent the wrong way. Well, our money's not being spent the right way anyway, right? Like if you're truly anti-war, then why are you okay with our military budget being as high as it is? Why are you okay with our war budget constantly expanding every single year?
Right.
Shouldn't you speak out against that and say that we need to help the average American citizen and the permanent residents and the legal immigrants that are in this country? But I don't hear him saying that, and so that's why he's interesting to me is when these questions eventually do start getting posed to him, I don't know what the responses are going to be, because the economic that's what we're doing is we're talking to him through his economic platform, through his economic understanding.
And the thing is, I have people like that in my family that think very similarly, and you pose to them the historical construct is that, okay, yes, letting these people in may have a negative impact on our economy. However, the reason they're coming in the first place is because of what we have historically done to their countries. That's a fact. There's no way around that.
Yeah, that's an unignorable number at this point. And for as much as that America demonizes Mexicans for coming over here and crossing the border and all stereotypes that you hear.
Right.
We don't really talk about extending or people overstaying their student and work visas because they get comfortable with the standard of living that they have here and they don't want to go back. But
Right.
But the reason why they don't reapply for it is because people are just, the process is not easy for people. It's not. I've been through it. I've been through it time and time again. And the one thing I can tell you is that the immigration process is not easy. They don't make it easy for people to want to be here. So,
Right.
so then you gotta kind of ask the question of like, why do people want to come here illegally, or why do people want to come here undocumented? Because the documents to come here are so convoluted. They don't
Yeah.
make any sense. So it is literally a lot easier for people, and it makes a lot more sense logically for them to just be like, you know what, we'll cross a fucking desert.
Now, here's the
That's
thing.
fine.
It is incredibly complicated and incredibly difficult if you come to this country without your own means. In other words, you're not already somewhat well established. If you come here and you're somewhat well established, I got news for you. It's a completely different ballgame.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
not kidding. I used to work for adult school
Mm-hmm.
ESL classes, English as a second language classes, in the city of Long Beach, and the disparity between a student who comes in who has, very little means, as opposed to somebody who actually had a fairly well-established family, and seeing the differences in terms of what they have, the hurdles that they have to go through in order to become citizens, it's completely different. It's a completely different system.
Yeah, I talk about it in my album is educating my my wife's conservative family about it, and this is like our Trump voting uncle that likes to talk about politics, and part of it is like, yeah, they're kind of looking for a fight. You know what I mean? Like they're kind of looking to put their dukes up a little bit, because that's what they're used to. But it's interesting because they have no idea. They have no idea until I told them what it was and explained to them the green card process. I explained to them all these other things that deal with the immigration system. They had no clue. Like they literally thought you come here and you turn your passport over and they give you an American passport, and then now you're like
These are the
that's
upstate
it.
New York relatives.
Columbus,
They should-
Ohio.
Oh.
Yeah, Columbus,
I was gonna say,
yeah.
They should know. They live close enough to the Canadian border, like how the stuff works. But
Oh,
that's
sure.
A different
Well,
animal, but-
yeah, Rochester's got its own. Rochester and upstate New York have their own special kind of problems.
Well, totally different subject, but just getting over the border, that is very different. Now, I don't know, I've never gone to Mexico, but being half Canadian, we used to just go over the border. They didn't even ask for anything. Like we would say we were going to visit my grandparents a couple hours north of Toronto, no questions, just come on across. In fact, when Abby was a baby in 1998, I didn't even think about bringing her birth certificate with me, which was actually pretty dumb. But I was so used to going over there with no questions, I didn't bring it. And so they're kind of looking at me like, okay, you want to bring this baby over with no immunization records, no nothing. And again, I just said where I was going, and it was so remote. They were like, we'll let you go this time, but you need to bring papers. Well, now, of course, since 9/11, you can't even go. We used to sneak over into Windsor because the drinking age was 19.
Oh, I've been to Windsor.
Yeah, and
Detroit Light, as it's
right.
known.
Well, and it was also just because they had cool clubs and dance stuff. Anyway, so we would just go over for a couple hours and come back. But now, like, I wanted to drive over and just show my kids, like, hey, look, you're in Canada for a few minutes. And we couldn't do it because we would have had to go through customs, and
Well, yeah,
it's a big deal now.
I kind of missed the window of opportunity of just driving across the border and looking at the falls from the Canada side.
Right.
There was a
Yep, we did that.
small window of opportunity when we could do that, and then that opportunity is now gone. So I've been to Windsor a few times, and I went over there to do a contest, which I hate. I hate doing comedy contests. I think I'm against them. I don't think comedy is something that you should compete over. Um, anyway, but it's part of the thing is like you do them because there is promise of work at the end of it. And so I went up there, and it's a 5-day contest. I made it 2 days. And I have this is a sidebar. It's like I have a bad habit of like when I know I'm going to lose, I will try to crash and burn as spectacularly as I can. So I will go up there with a bit or something that I know is going to be antagonistic and will piss people off, and then I'm going to go do that. That's the bit, right? And it's just like if you're not on board, fuck you. Like that was the attitude that I had with it. So that's what I did. And day 2, I made it to the Thursday was the first round, and then Friday was like the early show was round 2, the late show was round 3. I think that's how it worked. And then Saturday, they had 2 more shows. So I didn't make it to Saturday. The Friday late show was the last show that I performed in, and then then I was done.
What exactly who did you insult? Do you remember any of
I
it?
went up and I talked about reincarnation, which was not a concept that anybody was willing to try to understand, and I basically did a 5 or 6 minute bit about the concept of reincarnation and what it actually was, and people were like, "What's happening right now?"
What is this, comedy?
Yeah, it was very confusing and jarring for people, and I get it. Because it took me like it was a piece that I was very proud of doing. Like it took me a long time to get it right. Like I think it took me like 2.5 years to work on that piece and get it to a point that I was like very excited about. So we did that. I did that. I incredibly failed. I got no laughs. I like literally nobody laughed at me. There was one person that I think was whispering that we have to leave because this doesn't make any sense. Like it was that quiet that a whisper was. So when I'm on tour, I can't like afford hotel rooms or anything, and if there's no comics in town that I know, or if I don't know someone like Kelly, then I will couch surf. So that's what I did. I was couch surfing in Windsor. And this lady had, her house was crazy. It was this massive house, and like, the way it was built was kind of weird and bananas, where like, the rooms were in this center, like, it was like a steps that went into this column, and it was like this big square, and each square had like a room. So like, I was in a guest room on this square.
Maybe it was
so
an
it was like
insane asylum or something?
I don't know what it was, but the architecture was like really cool, and so like on Saturday.
Were there butter tarts?
What is
butter
that?
Tarts? Because I noticed the last time I went over there, instantly everywhere you go there are butter tarts, and if anybody that's Canadian knows what I'm talking about, they're these little tiny pastries. They look like pecan pies, but it's maple syrup, and you find them everywhere. Every diner, even the convenience store, will have butter tarts, and they're like homemade. I don't know where they come from.
If you make them 6 to 8 times larger, they can sell them in America.
Yeah, true.
You know,
they're very good.
They would have to be. Yeah, they would have to.
They have to be something
right,
around this size. That's one portion.
Yeah. No, they're super rich, and it's all maple syrup. They're very good.
That sounds incredible. I wish I would have known about it. Now I got to go back to Windsor to have a butter tart.
Yeah, you do. And get like not laughed at.
Right. Yeah. So I had so I was staying with this couch surf, and and then like I told her about the contest and stuff, and I told her, and she was like, and they didn't laugh, they didn't find this funny, like what's going on, blah blah blah, and so I ended up crashing with her, and then I ended up crashing with her an extra night because I was like, I don't have anywhere to go on Sunday. I was kind of hoping that I would get a little bit further in the contest, right? Or like, so I stayed with her like one extra night through Sunday, and on Monday morning I headed back into Detroit, and I already had a terrible experience. This is 2013 maybe, yeah, something like that.
Detroit pre them cleaning it up a bit, sounds like.
Yeah, there was a lot of urban. There was a lot of like rooftop gardening going on at that time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I think it was right around the turn of it.
Okay. 'Cause I remember Anthony Bourdain. I love him, and I watched all of his stuff. And he went to Detroit, and he was like, "It looks like Chernobyl here." I mean, because he went
It's
to
rough.
a couple. Yeah, there were a couple of factories that were just. Yeah, I mean, just a wreck. But it's coming back.
It is.
So I guess-
It's starting to do a lot better. There are some really cool clubs in Detroit, and I think people are eager and anxious to do stuff out there. So that's pretty exciting. But that's so I was going into Detroit, and I had like one night in Detroit or something. I don't even think I had a show at that point in Detroit, but I had to go through the border checkpoint, and so I have like a suitcase in my car, and I can't tell them that I performed in the club because it's like I didn't make any money. Like, but I can't also just be like, I came to do a comedy club thing. They'll be like, what the fuck are you talking about? So I just told them I was visiting. They were like, so what do you mean you were visiting? I was like, like when you visit a place and you just kind of hang out in a town for a weekend or something. And they were like, so where'd you stay? Like, what did you do? And I was like, oh, I just went to this bar. I caught it, and that this is my way of I was like, I caught a comedy show, and then they were like, okay, and they were like, where did you stay? Did you like get a hotel? And like I was like, I can't go to. So I said I was couch surfing, and they're like, what? What the hell is that? So I have to like explain what couch surfing is, which is a very European idea, right? Like there's a lot of it in Canada. But anyway, so I was explaining that to them, and they were like, so how do you know this person's not going to murder you in your sleep? And I was like, what's happening right now?
Nice Canadians?
Yeah.
I mean, really?
Right? Like, what are you talking about? And then he was just so confused. I was like, no, dude, like, there's like a website. I was like, do you want me to show you the app? And he was like, there's an app? And I was like, yeah, there's a fucking phone app,
It was
dude.
2013.
Right. And he was like, so he gets all confused about it. And then he literally looks at me and he goes, so what is it, like a sex thing? Like, is it a sex? Is that why you're up here? And I was like, first of all, thank you for, I guess, thinking that about me. But no, like, what is happening? So then he was like, okay, like, so where are you going? So he told him he was going back to Pittsburgh. And he was like, okay. So he grabbed my license. He looked at my green card and he was like, what is this? The dude literally didn't understand what a green card was. And I was like, this is your job. Like, you're supposed to know what a green card is. So
They're
I'm like
used
telling
to people like me coming over with nothing.
I
Just
guess
like,
so.
go on.
But it was just,
no story, no nothing.
Yeah, it's just weird. Like, they just don't understand what it was. And I had to be like, it's a permanent residency card. And they're like, what does that mean? I'm like, it's a permanent resident. Like, I live and I'm legally allowed to live and work in America. And they're like, okay. And who gave you this card? And I was like, what?
Wow.
Dude, it has an issue date on it. And he's like, I might have to, I guess I'm going to have to take your word for it.
That's
like,
very
what
strange.
I
don't know. I guess literally because we said we're going to, Burley Falls, Ontario, and I named this super remote place and given family name. I don't know, but I've never encountered any of that. Ever. Like, all the years going back and forth over the border, they never asked me anything or asked me for any, except that one time they kind of looked at Abby like, who's this 6-month-old baby you're smuggling? Oh, go ahead. They're like,
baby's white, let it go.
Well,
let it go.
I mean, maybe.
We need the statistics to go up.
Maybe so.
We just let 4 Mexicans cross the border. We need more. We gotta even it out. We gotta even those statistics back out.
I think they're like, if you're brave enough to go that far north, then go right ahead.
But yeah, and then you kind of, I don't think I've ever gotten any sort of, I don't know how to explain it. Oh, excuse me, I keep yawning. I had never gotten this bizarre level of questions going into Canada. Like, when I go into Canada, it's, what are you doing? I'm just here to visit. Great! Very exciting. I hope you have a great time in Canada. And it's like, it's that stereotype of Canadians being super nice. And that's sort of what it was. And then you come over, and it's just like, what do you mean you were visiting? Why would you visit Windsor? What about Toronto?
Grilled.
Why didn't you go to Toronto? Did you hear about Toronto? Why don't you just fly to Montreal? It's like all these weird questions. And and I think part of the thing is like the weird questions need to be asked because they're trying to trip you.
Right, exactly.
Because they want this faux idea of security, and if they get this faux idea of security, then they feel validated about having like stopped a terror threat. And it's like, there's no terror threat. There's literally a person that has a legal
couch
reason
surfing
to
comic.
fucking, a couch like a poor, broke couch surfing comedian
who lost the contest.
Who talked about
went down in
reincarnation.
flames.
And then, if I would have told him that, we'd be like, you talked about what on stage? You didn't mention your dick once? And it's like, how depressing do you want this set to be?
Right. I don't know. Canadians might not be able to go there.
I feel like the Canadians can handle that part.
You know, I do remember, I can't speak, obviously, I'm not going to try to speak for all of Canada or anything. This was in the 80s, but I remember being there and the sense of like how backwards it felt to me was very strong. Like down to like the clothes my sister and I wore, everyone was like, whoa, where'd you get that? Like they ordered stuff out of the Sears catalog. The television shows, we didn't watch a lot of TV, but the things, it was like people our age were watching Wheel of Fortune and things like that. Like it was really, okay. But I mean, like culturally, like just, I don't know, just things we'd talk about, music or whatnot. It was very, very different. So this idea that Canada is just like America, I mean, maybe it is more, I'm sure it is more so now, but back then, I mean, this was mid 80s, it was very different and it felt very, very backwards. Like,
well, I think the advent of the internet has changed a whole lot. It's like you know what I think it's sped up how culturally influenced you can
get your Sears robot jeans much faster.
You can they'll use a drone and fire it in your kitchen.
Right. Right.
So I think,
and butter tarts too.
And, they'll just be it's the ammunition.
I think we got stood up by our other guests. Didn't we? Oh well. I think
that's all right.
I should do a better job of getting in touch with people the day before. Like when I say a date and then, but who knows? I know John Michael was going to come on and he said he had a stomachache. So anyway, but that's okay. Anybody in the...
I bet you would at least show up. I mean...
That's okay. Yeah. Well, Pat was at a California Dem something or other meeting, but anyway. Did you haven't gotten into... I don't want you to do your bit, but I was thinking maybe it's too late now. To tell the story about the lady that you left your shoes with.
Oh, yeah.
The paraphrase. I like this story. I think it's cool.
It's a long story that I'm doing in my stand-up show now, but it's basically my wife and I went to so our honeymoon was in India, and we went to a temple that I used to go to as a kid, and it's a different experience when you grow up and go to a temple when you're a kid, and you see things a little differently, right? Like when I was a kid, it was very much you would do these little offering plates that you would get from locals that would be selling it with like fruits and desserts and a flower and all this other stuff, and you're essentially taking that to go offer it to the god. When I was a kid, we didn't have security there. Now it's like there's metal detectors and security guards and like there's cops on duty at the temple, and it's this bizarre thing. But so one of the things you have to do is you have to take your shoes off, and you can't. And in a temple like that, so you can't just like leave your shoes outside unattended because there's so much traffic all the time. there's a very good chance that someone random would just steal it. So you kind of have to leave it with somebody. So we left it with this like old beggar woman, and she gives you like a token with a number, corresponding number. And our initial thought was like, all right, well, we don't know.
Say goodbye to your shoes.
Yeah, right. We
You
were
might
just
not-
like, we have no idea if these shoes are coming back to us.
Uh-huh.
Because what we would normally do when I was a kid is there are these vendors on the side, and the vendors is like who you would go to, and they would be like, okay, well, when you come back to get your shoes, are you going to buy something? And it's like, yeah, I'll buy something after I'm in the friggin' temple. Like, let me go to the temple first. And that's what we did. We would like come back, and then we would buy some desserts. It's like a thing that we're gonna do anyway.
Right.
So we went in, and it's awful. Like the whole experience is fucking terrible.
So this place is like really ornate, right? You were saying it's all gold and like.
It's very ornate. Yeah, there's a lot of gold. There's a lot of decoration. It's very rich, like because the temple is for the goddess of wealth, and that's traditionally what wealth is for money. And like we kind of looked around, but I mean everything is like there's just ornate shit all over the place.
I like that bit too, where you talked about what wealth is. We always consider money, not wealth, and something else.
It's a vague term in my opinion, right? You have to be definitive about what that means. So when we kind of went in, like there's no spirituality with what's going on there. It's very much like transactional. Because you go up there and like the priest will take your offering plate and do a couple mantras and hand you the desserts and the fruits, and then he kind of just waves you off the place, right?
But you give money?
There's a donation till,
okay.
right? There's like a donation till, and it's like if you don't put money into the donation till, you're kind of an asshole. You know, it's the same thing like in the church. It's like the tithings, like when they pass the collection plate around. It's like you're not going to put money into the collection plate. Like, do you not care about your soul? Like, do you not care about the soul of the community? Like, do you not care about Jesus? Do you not care about the children? Because all of this is for the children. Like, do you not care? How dare you? You know what? Those
Joel
kids,
Osteen.
Right? Yeah. Well, Joel Osteen cares about Joel Osteen.
Right.
Yes.
You know, I mean, come on, Kelly, it's very unfair because he really needs to bleach his teeth again. He really needs, and he needs another megachurch. He really needs it. You know, 14 is not enough. Houston's a big place. There's an island, Galveston. He's got to buy that island. You know, and we're getting in the way by trying to help poor people. That's ridiculous. It's absurd. How is he going to buy
It's funny
Galveston?
if another hurricane comes, if he buys that island.
If he buys, that's what he's going to do. Is he's going to use the island as like a blockade to stop the hurricane. So that it doesn't hit his church specifically.
Okay.
Fuck the people of Houston. He doesn't care about the people of Houston, but his church will be protected by the island. So that's. And we're proof.
And God forbid he let anybody in.
No, I mean, if he lets people in, how is he going to have enough money to buy the island, Brian? That's just now you're being selfish. Is what's going on? Is you're not thinking about Joel? You know, you think you can just buy an island willy nilly? You can just buy some land. This is America, damn it. Okay, you can't just do that.
True.
For Charlie.
Okay, wait.
So
you no, it's okay. So you had a backpack, is this right?
I did, yeah. I had an extra pair of my sandals. And you remember the bit more than I do right now. I had one drink and it's all down the drain.
Should I make another one?
No, oh my god.
Okay.
I'm already yawning already.
Oh, okay.
So
that's because you only
so
had one. You need to
I gotta get the second one and balance it out. If you would like to. If you would like. I'm not gonna say no.
Okay, you tell the rest of the story.
So I had so when we went through the security, I had a backpack on with an extra pair of sandals for my wife, and I had to keep those sandals by security. Right? They like took the sandals away and they said keep it in this little area. We're gonna watch it. So we go through this awful, weird transactional thing. And by the way, I didn't like get to do anything. I literally went up and put money into the donation till, and then I got waved off. Like they told me that I had to leave. Like that's what they told me to do. So like I didn't get any time to like have any sort of spiritual experience or anything. Like I was just waved off. So my wife and I are sitting underneath this tree, completely disillusioned. And she loves temples, by the way. Like she loves them, right? Like we did a cross country tour last year, and virtually every single city that we went to, we found a Hindu temple to go to and hang out in for a little bit, right? Like she's a lot more spiritual person than I am. So she finds a lot of peace. She likes to meditate. It brings her calm. It doesn't do anything for me, but I do it because she likes it, and if it makes her happy, that's great. My wife comes and watches Endgame with me 4 times, so like that's, I don't think she's watching Avengers Endgame 4 times because she likes. I mean, she loves Tony Stark, but it's like that's more for me. Like she's there. Like there's only, this is going to go into spoilers, but it's fine. But there's only so many times where like you're gonna see Captain America beat the shit out of Thanos, and you're like I still get excited about that, right? It's the same thing for her with temples. It's like she gets really excited, and I'm excited that she's excited. So when we're in this temple, like we are completely disillusioned. The priests that are supposed to like be these sort of people that guide you through your spiritual experience are just in it for the money. And we go, so we're like, let's just leave. And we head to the security, and the security like they've lost my wife's sandals. Just disappeared, right? So I'm sitting there and I'm like, I gotta get these sandals back. And I'm talking to these people, and I was like, where are my wife's sandals? They were supposed to be here. And literally no one cares, right? They're just like, well, looks like they're gone. Who gives a shit? Go away now, please. And they turned and saw my wife, right? Like she's a white lady, and they like got sprung into action. And that's whenever like they call the cop on duty, who's like getting a written statement from us. Which I thought was hilarious. Hilarious. That he was like, I'm going to get a written statement about your stolen sandals at a temple. But he kept saying, like, who would steal something so close to the presence of God, right? And I really wanted to just look at him and be like, yeah, like the priest who keeps stealing money from poor people and not really giving them, like, a real darshan. Like, he keeps giving them this express bullshit. So it's just... we were so disillusioned by it. We're walking down the stairs, and we are expecting our shoes to just not be there, right? And we go over and we see this old woman, and we hand her our token, and she hands us our shoes back, which we're surprised is still there. And then we were like, how much do you want? And she basically said, whatever you think is right, like a donation. So we gave her some money. Which I immediately was just like, I should have given her way more money. And then my wife was like, no, I think you did fine. But at that point is whenever I realized that this old beggar woman is probably the most honest person on this temple ground, right? Mm-hmm. She's the person that has the most amount of integrity in this entire temple. Like, everybody inside that temple has something to guard and protect, right? Like, it's the goddess of wealth, and they want to make sure that their wealth is protected, and they have security there, they have lines, they have all these traditions and functions in place, because they have no intention of actually sharing the mere concept of wealth with anybody else. Where this woman is going to take the small amount of money that I gave her, maybe $1 that I gave her, for watching our shoes, and she's probably going to share that with her community, her family, right? People, like, she is going to take what little she has and spread it around as much as she can. Whereas these other people have no intention on sharing any of their things.
Isn't that awesome? I just love this story. I think that says.
Yeah, and
I just think it says so much. It's so true.
It's so it was this big realization for me, but it's also like it's a very to me it's like I told my mom this, and we were like real mad about it. So we're driving back to the. It's just it's great. It's not really surprising. No, it's not surprising that the rich people want to hold on to their money. It's not surprising at all. I just think it needs to be said more often, right? But yeah, I was talking to my mom about it, and I was telling her about. Hi, John. So I was talking to my mom about it, and she was basically like. She was basically making fun of me about it. She was just like, "Oh yeah, of course that's what happens at temples." And I'm like, "The point is, it shouldn't happen this way. Like, it's sacred ground, it's spiritual grounds. People are hawking merchandise. There's rich people stealing sandals. There's cops. Why are there cops at a temple? Who's fucking like trying to attack people?" Oh, I'm talking about an experience I had at a temple in India where my wife's sandals got stolen. So, yeah. It was exciting
People were
times.
doing thievery at the temple? What temple? What kind of temple?
It was a Hindu temple. It was a Hindu temple in India. So, yeah. Yeah, so my wife's sandals got stolen and became like a big hoopla, and a lot of people pretending to give a shit. But the woman that we should have like spent our entire time with is the old beggar woman that washed our shoes, like outside the temple. Like that's, so.
So y'all were talking about Jesus then? Get the Bible parallel?
It's all the same shit. It's all the same shit with the different dressing. That's all it is.
Right.
Good evening, everyone. By
Hello.
the way, sorry I'm late. I knocked out.
No problem, man.
Today,
Glad you can make it.
It's been so hot.
It is very hot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been so hot. I laid down for a second because my stomach was so upset from the heat, and I just woke up and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm late to like everything right now. So, but I wanted to pop in. What were y'all talking about tonight anyway? Where's Kelly? I don't see her.
Oh, Kelly's making a drink.
Yeah,
She'll be back.
You'll be back.
That's a woman after my own heart. I'll tell you what.
You're a woman after his own heart.
Did you two happen to see what I dropped in the chat?
I have not.
You can't make this shit up. So Hillary Clinton this weekend is going to give a keynote speech at a cybersecurity summit. Tell me that's not the.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's great. It's great.
What is she going to call it? Is it going to be like what happened in the online version? I don't understand. Is it going to be like the Gossip Report Volume 2? Or like what is it going to be? Like, what name is she going to go with? I'm really
I am going to predict that because the whole Russian thing is falling apart, I'm going to predict that she's going to blame it on aliens.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Martians.
Or, hear me out, she is an alien, and this is going to be the big coming out celebration.
Wouldn't
right?
that make a whole lot of sense?
This is first contact, right?
So, for anyone who doesn't know the joke yet, the reason why we have Moscow mules, right? Because,
is that
because we're Putin puppets.
Well, of course.
Right, of course.
How are you?
Hi, I'm good. I'm so sorry. I knocked out earlier.
That's okay.
No problem.
It's been so hot here, and my stomach was upset. And literally, the last thing I remember is saying, "I'm gonna lay down for a minute before 7 hits," and I just knocked out. And so I am sorry I'm late.
No problem at all.
No, it's the southern summers.
That's what happened to me at my Airbnb last weekend. Listen, always check in with your Airbnb person the day before you get there, because I didn't do so, and I had booked it a while before, and I said I'll get there at midnight, which was shockingly, I was actually on time. If I say I'm going to be somewhere at midnight, apparently I can be there on time. But anyway, so I get there, there's nowhere to park, and I can't get, or, no, I got in, but the AC wasn't on, and it was upstairs.
Oh, no.
And so I'm parked illegally.
And heat rises, honey. Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
Yes, this was in
And then
Atlanta.
needed some-
This was Atlanta, 96 degrees.
Oh,
So I'm
no.
kind of tripping out, and I'm walking up and down the sidewalk, and there's a bar down the road, and I'm like, surely some people, maybe other people staying in the Airbnb know what's going on here. I didn't even know if the owner lived there. But finally, after about an hour, I get desperate, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to go to another hotel or something. And so I thought, okay, I think it said something about the AC being controlled downstairs. So I just decided to try the other door. It was unlocked, and there's a dog, and I'm like,
Oh,
uh-oh.
man.
So I call, and that didn't work, and anyway, I came back later eventually, and I yelled louder into this apartment, and I was like, hello, is anybody here? By this point, it's 1 a.m, but I have nowhere to go, because I can't
Oh,
sleep.
no, honey. When it's that hot, and you're like, I'm uncomfortable. When I get hot, I get uncomfortable.
Yeah. Oh, no, I mean, it was-
Yeah.
It was heat stroke. No,
it,
and then the windows were nailed shut. I tried to open the windows. I thought, well, maybe I can stand the heat overnight while I sleep, and then I'll hear back
No.
from this guy. But I didn't even know if the apartment I was yelling into was another Airbnb customer. They just left their door unlocked, or if it was the owner. Well, finally, turns out it was the owner's apartment. He had had too much to drink earlier and had left his door unlocked and passed out. And so he comes downstairs in his boxers, and he's just apologizing all over himself. Like, I'm so sorry. And I was like, let's make a deal. How about you don't listen to my voice messages, and we'll call it even. Because I was so mad. Because I sent a couple texts after 45 minutes. I'm like, I'm reporting this to Airbnb. I was so angry because I was exhausted.
He's lucky he didn't have me. That's all I have to say.
He was really
And
nice.
I would have burned that damn Airbnb down. I'd have been like, well, if I'm going to be hot, so are you, motherfucker.
Are you? Can you turn your?
Of course, I don't advocate committing arson. I wouldn't.
I know. We know. Yes, when you're a candidate again, somebody's gonna pull this up and be like, he sets places on fire. He goes. He sets places on fire for Cory Booker.
He had a dragon at one point. He set everything on fire. I don't know.
Yeah, but it could all be staged. You set them on fire, and Cory Booker runs in and saves people from burning buildings. Remember? Hey, do your volume? You don't remember that?
No.
Oh my god. Okay.
Wait, Cory Booker?
Yeah, your volume is really low. JM, is there any way you can turn your volume up? Yeah, there was this story years, maybe how long ago was that? 5, 6?
Like 3 or 4 years ago at least.
Yeah, so Cory Booker, I remember, now I don't want to poo-poo some great thing he did to save people's lives, but it just had this smell of a stunt.
It was a photo op.
Did it have the smell of repressed homosexuality? I feel like everything does have that sense. Like, Cory, you need to really stop trying to make up for the fact that you liked it. I mean, that's where I'm at. It's not a flaw. It's not a character.
You know who he's seeing, right?
Who?
What's her name from Marvel TV shows? She was a big Bernie supporter.
Not Peggy Carter, is it?
Rosario
Please.
No.
Yeah, John, see if you can turn up your volume.
I don't know what's wrong with it.
Well, that's better. You just have to yell.
Oh, girl, you know I yell all the time. He's talking Rosario Dawson. He's seen Rosario.
Yes, that's it.
Rosario Dawson. He's dating Rosario Dawson?
What is wrong with her? I thought
What?
she had more sense than that.
Rosario Dawson was like a big Bernie supporter.
Oh, was a huge Bernie supporter.
I thought she had sense. Oh well. Anyway,
Apparently not.
so he run, but I remember it on the news and the clips of it. It's like the look on his face that he escaped the building. The look on his face was like, "Oh shit, that was really close. Like I almost actually like got hurt in there helping people." Like that was how I felt when I saw it. Like it was just kind of a stunt.
Did it happen twice, Kelly?
I don't know.
It happened twice, didn't it?
I don't know.
Oh man, if it happened twice.
The other thing he did was he helped snowplow like his neighbor's fucking
Yes.
yard.
Yeah, he did
or
do.
something
Yeah, he
like
did.
that. And they were like, "Oh my God, Cory Booker's so amazing!" And it was like, "Okay, like that's great" or whatever. Yeah.
You know what?
Now get behind universal health care, you jackass.
Yeah, I haven't heard a lot.
You're snowplowing your neighbor's yard so that they won't break their hip and fall and go to the hospital.
Right.
Right.
And that's
healthcare.
the
So,
stupid insurance companies that own you won't have to pay for it.
Party, I don't know if you've heard of it, but
That's the deal he made with the health insurance companies. I'll shovel the driveways so that nobody falls. So that
They were like, "We don't want to pay you anymore, Cory." He's like, "It's fine. You can stop paying me. I'll still support you. I'll just go shovel. That's what. I'll be a real public servant."
Did you see what I posted in the chat?
do what?
Did you see what I posted in the chat?
No, where? Which one? I can't keep up.
Chat. You're on
Zoom
Zoom.
chat.
Oh no,
No.
because when I post, okay, do you want this broadcast? Because when I pull it up, it goes up on the live.
That's fine. Yeah.
Oh crap, that's not it. Wait a minute. We're having another technical.
It
Thank
canceled.
you.
There you go.
We messed up earlier and kept playing David Letterman. The whole YouTube clip just disappeared. Okay, hang on.
yes.
Okay, hang on.
There you
There
go.
it goes. Thank you.
Oh yeah, it's the RT cybersecurity keynote speech.
What is this?
You can't make this shit up.
Oh,
This is not the Onion.
should I play that? No, I'm not going to play this, right?
Oh no, I think this is an article, right?
It's just an article.
Okay. Hillary Clinton to give keynote.
And she's very confused about a computer screen in this photo.
She's looking at the screen. She's like, but I wiped this with a cloth.
She's like, what is this? What do they put on the internet now? I'm on the internet? How is this possible? How is this possible?
Oh,
Kept
God.
confidential. Wait, yes, the same Hillary Clinton who kept confidential emails on an unsecured server. Yeah, that's great. That's great. It's good. Maybe
You know
Harvey
what?
Weinstein will give a
Really,
speech on.
really a shitty fucking take on everything. I'm sorry to be interrupted.
No, it's
No,
just
no,
your
no,
volume.
yeah.
It's just because your volume's down, so it's hard to tell.
I don't know what's wrong with it. I'm on my phone.
Okay.
That's why. Maybe that's why. I can see if I can switch to where's my. I can see if I can switch to like a Chromebook or whatever. Do you want me to do that?
I would try that because
Yeah,
we
the
want
volume
we
might
want
be
to
a
hear
little
what you
bit
have
louder.
to
It's a
say.
good better audio.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see. I don't know. Hold on. Okay. I'll
Sure.
call you back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Log back in. That works. Okay. Oh, he's so funny.
Oh man, people are gonna be. Oh wow, this is a. Here's the price of it. That's what I was wondering. Is like, how much is this thing gonna cost? $795 and $2,000. That's crazy.
Wow.
To
That's
go
insane.
see her talk about some shit that she doesn't understand. That's amazing.
Ugh.
That's incredible. How many tickets do you think this is gonna sell? 8?
Yeah, something.
12? Do you think it'll break double digits?
I would buy one if they let me bring in a bag of my own tomatoes.
Presentation.
Oh my god! What? Who decided this was a good idea?
Fire Eye. Oh.
They weren't.
What
Wait a
do
second.
you know about Fire Eye?
Hang on. I think that's
Oh.
on.
This was not thought out.
No, I don't. Oh wait, what is this Twitter? Students for Trump. Hillary's
Fire Eye. Okay, listen.
Oh, is this
I
a
love
thing?
talking about this stuff because
Okay.
I can't get too into it because it's there's more research to be done. VR Systems in Florida
Mm-hmm.
is the company that now Governor DeSantis was told by the FBI to not release the names of the 2 counties that were actually hacked into their VR systems.
Okay.
This isn't going to make sense. Let me just back up. Okay. These I wrote down from an article, a guy named Christopher Burgess that we actually spoke to. He wrote an article about Reality Winner, which I thought was the most like comprehensive thing I had heard about her, because, you know, when her story broke, it was, you know, The Intercept basically kind of took over the narrative and they said Reality Winner showed the Russian hacking. Well, to anyone that happens to be watching or wants to know, go watch Aaron Matei's interview on Real News Network with James Risen. Risen?
Oh,
yeah,
Risen.
Of the
Yeah,
Intercept?
he was the former NYT guy that got fired.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, right. So
Yeah.
I love
Fired
Aaron
more
Matei.
journalists.
That's journalism, okay?
Yeah.
Aaron Matei,
Yeah.
Max Blumenthal, Glenn Remalt, those guys, okay?
Yeah.
Anyway, and Gray Zone Project. I think Aaron is over there now because he left Real News Network.
Aaron
Matei.
I think, yeah, because Max Blumenthal and Anya Perrin-Pill, they're all with Gray Zone Project now.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what journalism
They're
is.
kind of the only people talking about Venezuela aside from
Mhm.
like Lee and Jimmy Dore.
Right.
And,
Right.
maybe
Yeah.
The Intercept every once in a while.
But most of America doesn't recognize journalism anymore. That's a different story. Okay, so what I found very interesting that I got from this article by Christopher Burgess was it listed that all of the 20. So Reality Winner, her defense, they wanted to subpoena the 21 states. Now that means the 21 states that DHS was twisting words around and saying it was hacked, but then when they were pressed on it, they're like, well, no, it was scanned. Well, scanning happens all the time, Christopher Krebs says. Scanning is nothing, it's routine. But yes, scanning is the evidence. What? So she wanted to subpoena the 21 states, DHS, the CIA, and this big list of cybersecurity companies. And CrowdStrike
including Fire.
Uh-huh. It's on here.
Mhm.
I just think that's interesting. I don't know why. We don't know why, but as Aaron points out in an interview, that the NSA, the document does not show that there was Russian hacking. It showed, you know, if you look at it, it has these like gray lines and green lines and yellow lines, and the green lines were confirmed, and yellow was like one analyst's analysis, and the gray line was like, there's no, we don't know, you know, kind of thing. And none of the, if you actually study the document, there's no definitive evidence of that at all. And James Risen ends up hanging up on Aaron. Yeah.
What?
Because he's pushing back on Aaron, and he's saying, you're saying there's no Russian hacking, and Aaron's like, no, I'm not. I'm saying that what you're saying that there definitely was is not proven
It's questionable.
Here.
Yeah.
And Aaron's
Yeah,
like, I'm, you know, either way, you just show me the evidence. And I just really, I have to just.
Well, that's yeah. I mean, whenever people kind of have this discussion with me, that's what I'm asking for is show me the evidence.
Right.
I just want to, you know, and it's like, well, what about this? And it's like, no, that's hearsay.
Right.
What you're telling me is a conjecture.
Right.
Right. Like I have a conjecture about what's going on with these abortion bills, but I don't have any evidence to prove my conjecture, so I won't say that it's fact. So,
but the problem with the Russiagate story is down to the root of an NSA report that was leaked to the Intercept. Someone took that, put their own spin of interpretation on it, and then everyone
else is running with it as if it's the truth.
went from there and didn't.
Just like we were talking about earlier, how opinion has now become our news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but that's, you know, that's what's more interesting, I guess, to people is the opinion of some talking head is what's more. I mean, look, a lot of people have made a career out of it, but and I watch a bunch of them, right? But like, there's still people that are coming up with real facts and real news, and they're on the ground. There's a guy that my wife and I like named Tim Pool. And I don't agree with Tim Pool all the time. He worked for Vice and Fusion and basically was just like, look, this is what journalism is. I interview somebody that is on the political opposite side of what Fusion and Vice normally cover, and I turn in a pretty objective piece, and the editor pretty much goes and says, well, we can't keep this in. We have to change the phrasing of this so that it kind of sounds like what we want it to sound like. And it's, and he was just like, that's not what journalism is. I didn't agree with it. So I just decided that I'm going to go out and try to find the real truth. So he goes out and like talks to Trump supporters and talks to people on the right. And like he did a big thing with, like he traveled to Sweden. He would travel to these various different places. And I think that's what he's planning on doing now. He's kind of going through some sort of transition, and he's working a lot with Minds.com and stuff like that. But he was on the ground and like talking to people all the time. So he talked to people in like Sweden about what's going on with the migrant crisis in Sweden. And go figure,
imagine
a country
that.
like Sweden doesn't like the migrant
have a
crisis.
reporter like on the ground to like check something.
Well, and now it's like a lot of people, including myself, have given him some flack, especially whenever there was the whole thing with the border crisis and everything, where there were a lot of reports coming in of like the tear gas and like what happened there, how did that all happen? Oh, they rushed the border and we had to retaliate because it's scary. And, it's like, is that what happened? What's the story? And he was reporting it, and my wife and I kind of got into this heated debate about it. And then we just paused and we were like, dude, I just wish he would be back on the ground. Like, I wish he was just there. Like, is there, like, I know that takes money. I know it takes funding, but like, he's got a solid Patreon. Like, he can go and use some of that money to like travel to like El Paso or wherever it is and see what's going on and talk to some people and see if he can like figure some things out, because the truth is always somewhere in between. It's never
Look
like
at our
concrete.
corporate news. They're going to spend money on I don't know what ads and stuff and the salaries of the talking heads rather than sending people out. Like, somebody mentioned Jordan Sheridan to me earlier, and, he's one of the people that's really been, a true reporter.
So I'm having technical difficulties, but can y'all hear me any better now?
Yeah, we can actually hear you. Great.
Okay, that's what the problem is, too. I think the problem is I was holding my phone like this, too, and so I kept covering the speaker.
Oh.
I turn it to the side, so I'm, not covering the speaker, maybe.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
We've had our issues of technical problems. We'll blame it on the heat.
Right.
It's the fault of the heat. Climate change. It's ruining everything. Yeah.
So what were you talking about? I can't remember. Was it Hillary Clinton and the cybersecurity thing?
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
I missed a joke.
Yeah.
So Reality Winner wanted to subpoena the one of the company that company. The what is it? FireEye?
FireEye. Yeah.
FireEye.
It's very interesting. I just find that interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Isn't it?
It's $795 to $2,000 to go see her speak.
And I say we take up a collection and we go and have somebody bring like a bag of tomatoes.
And the guillotine, maybe? Can we do that?
Wait, where is this going to be?
Situation where
I don't know if we can roll that in, man.
Oh,
it's not going to
DC.
make it past the metal detectors.
It's in DC, and
Yeah.
it's actually a training thing.
Is it? Is that what it is?
Oh my God, that's what it says.
Oh, she's gonna train you. So it's kind of like what they do at senior centers, right? Is like they teach you how to use a computer. I think this might be the same thing that how I helped my mom figure out how to use her Microsoft Surface.
Okay. I am not a fan of Amy
Yeah.
Schumer, but again, and I'm not going to play any more YouTube videos. But Amy Schumer, Google or look up on YouTube, Amy Schumer's mom, and it's like computer problems or something. It is hilarious. Brian, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, where her mom is like, do I plug it in? Like, and at the end, like, Amy's like leaned back on the couch, like foaming at the mouth because she's just losing her mind over her having to deal with her mom and her computer problems. So, yeah, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, how much more do they need to like push this woman onto people? Like, didn't they try to do a speaking tour?
Yes,
To the point,
not too long ago.
Yeah, and
they had a bunch of locations throughout Canada that they were going to do. I think they only made the first one. They realized
this is a bad idea.
They canceled the rest of the tour. There's just no point.
Can you I'm sorry, sidebar. Can you imagine the commercial for this tour or this speaking gig? Like, are you over the age of 65? Are you most likely guilty of war crimes? You belong at federal prison. I think you got the perfect. Like what? Like, how do you even advertise that? Like, you got a perfect situation for you. Like, Hillary Clinton's gonna talk to you about cybersecurity and how she allegedly was hacked, allegedly, several times. It's something that keeps happening over and over and over again. Now she's like, oh, cybersecurity, that's important.
Do you think there's going to be one person that's like, hey, so I got audited and most of my porn files were under the folder 2015 taxes, and now the IRS has confiscated all my porn. Do you have any advice on what I should do with that? Didn't Bill have a problem with that?
Right.
Do you think Bill knows what to do? Is Bill here? Can I talk to Bill?
I feel like Bill, I don't feel like Bill's into porn. I feel like he's more of like the real life kind of thing. Like, I don't think he's really into porn. I bet she's the one who has all the porn. He just goes and does it. Bill just goes and does it. He's not worried about watching it. He's more of that.
Bill's a doer. If we know anything about Bill Clinton, that man's not waiting around for shit.
I mean, he's kind of a carpe diem type person when it comes to that. I don't know.
All I can think of is, anybody know that Dana Carvey, if you haven't seen it, again, we're just talking about really old stuff tonight. All the way back to 2008, because I'm
Jesus.
old. Is Dana Carvey's Squatting Monkeys Tell No Lies.
Oh,
which the title is about the Scientology stuff. But there's a bit in there where he talks about, he does his Reagan and Bush impressions and everything, and and Clinton, and then he starts talking about
his Bush is amazing.
It's great.
And anyway, so he's talking as Bill Clinton about Hillary's pantsuits. And just kind of like, can you blame me? I mean, it's really funny. Anyway, I found this thing. I guess I won't try to play it again. But anything. But that's the thing. Does everybody know this? Where she says that about I wiped it? Yeah. You mean like with a cloth? Does everybody see that clip?
Yes, I remember that.
Okay, I'm gonna do it again. Let's see if I can do it.
Okay.
I'm gonna try.
Just don't full screen. You don't need to full screen.
No, was that the problem?
I think the problem, it was on full screen, and then when you swished it, it disappeared.
Oh, you're right. We're high tech here.
Hillary, does she have like a support line?
Yeah, really.
Contact with Hillary.
Okay, here we go. We're going to get all kinds of All right, here we go.
All right.
Because Hillary is a cybersecurity expert. Ready?
Oh, yes. Big time.
Well, my personal emails are my personal business, right? So we went through a painstaking process and turned over 55,000 pages of anything we thought could be work-related. Under the law, that decision is made
already wearing
by
orange
the
there.
official. I was the official. I made those decisions. What, like with a cloth or something? Well, no.
Oh, God.
I don't know how it works digitally at all. I do not have any. Ed, I know you want to make a point, and I can
And she's giving
repeat
us
what I have said.
a keynote
In
on
order
cyber.
Yeah,
right.
Like a cloth? Do you
Thanks
think it was with a cloth?
Yeah, you mean like, I mean, who does that? Like,
That's brilliant.
Oh, it's the same person that's going to call a black person a super predator. So
it's true. And the same person that doesn't understand the internet. Remember the thing about, I don't know where Bernie was when I was talking about healthcare, and someone
he was standing right behind her.
in like 10 minutes, someone came up with a video where she's talking about healthcare. Yeah, Bernie was literally standing behind her.
we were in Yellow Springs, Ohio, and my now father-in-law had bought my wife and I a hotel room because we were on the road, we were touring, and we were like, man, we're like super exhausted. And he was like, I'll buy you a hotel room. We're like, all right, cool, thanks, Dad. So we did the show. It was weird. We get to the hotel room, and the debates were on. Well, they were recasting the debates. And I remember at this point, it was like February before the election.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember we're watching the debates, and my wife goes, wow, that was a really good answer from Hillary Clinton. And I was like, huh, yeah, it kind of sounds like pretty much every single time that Bernie opens his fucking mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, does it? And I was like, let's look at all the things that Bernie always says. Fighting the billionaires, Medicare for all, how do we fund public education, how do we break up the banks? And she said all of that shit in that answer. And it's almost like she's just copying the shit that he's saying. And she was like, oh shit. And I was like, and at that point, it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, I bet you this is going to be the future of the rest of the fucking debates till July.
Mm-hmm.
And it was. It's just her parroting a bunch of shit.
SNL did a really brilliant campaign commercial. They did, of course, it was with Kate McKinnon, right? Who I just think is phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
She's just great.
She's
great.
really funny, but yeah, Saturday Night Live. No.
Yeah.
I know.
They got some good stuff every once in a while.
They do get it right. They do get it right sometimes, and they got it right on this one. So they had her. She started out normal, in her Hillary stick or whatever, with the hair and the pantsuit.
Oh, she did a great job at that.
As the commercial goes on, though, she starts transforming into Bernie Sanders.
Oh, right. Yes, I saw that. I saw that.
It's a great. It's one of the ones that they nailed.
That is a good.
Yeah.
She's like, I've been against the millionaires and the billionaires. Like, goes into the Bernie impression. So Kate McKinnon impersonating Bernie Sanders. Hillary Clinton impersonating Bernie Sanders. So it's hilarious.
Yeah, no, that was really good.
That was well done.
Yeah, she's amazing. People that can do impersonations, that's just the hard. How do you do that? To change into different, to do one well is amazing, but to be someone like Dana Carvey or Kate McKinnon to switch like that into so many is just amazing.
It's a special skill.
Yeah.
Or a mental illness diagnosis.
Yeah, can we get a brain scan for Dana Carvey?
Hey, please always show up late rather than never, JM, please.
Yes.
Okay. I really am sorry, but also, can we talk about a couple things, if you don't mind? Number one, this Rubin lady, she posted this tweet, and she was she called Medicare for all a fetish. And she was basically it's so weird. Jennifer Rubin, right? She's like a Washington Poster. I don't even know where the hell that lady works. All I know, she needs to be fired, right? She's
Rubin. Oh yeah. I saw you post that tweet in the chat. Yeah.
Oh no, I wasn't able to post it, but I did it. I just went off.
Maybe I just saw it on your feed.
I have thick skin, but calling people's right to healthcare. It is a right. Healthcare is a human right. We should be all coming together collectively to make sure everyone has healthcare. There's no question about that. But her hot shitty neoliberal take for today on it was that there's a fetish in the Democratic Party with Medicare for all. And I'm like, a fetish? Like, what the hell is wrong with her, number one? And also, what do y'all think about Warren? Because I know Brian has some thoughts that I'm sure about Warren.
I will tell you this, Jam. Plain and simple. Elizabeth Warren will get from me the exact same support that she gave progressives, Bernie, and Standing Rock in 2016.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I
Go
feel the
on,
same way.
please. I'm listening.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can look back on how she was on consumer protection stuff, and she seemed to really be for the people, right? But I cannot get the image out of my head of her with her matching blue pantsuit next to Hillary Clinton holding up Hillary's hand after she stayed silent the entire time and wouldn't back Bernie. So
wasn't there a report or something that came out that said that Hillary Clinton paid off Elizabeth Warren to not run in 2016 so that she could be the only woman in the Democratic Party? Yeah, and specifically a blue pantsuit, which I'm assuming is what we're calling the Democratic Party at this point, is the blue pantsuit.
Right.
Right. It's all business, very unappealing.
Objection. Can it be the blue, non-sexually, I don't know, you know, what is it, sexually fluid? Okay, we want to include the LGBT people in this.
Sorry, did I assume the pantsuit's gender? That's my fault.
We're not going to do anything policy-wise for that, but we need to make sure that they're included.
What's Pete Buttigieg's website have? Is a bunch of fucking swatches or something? Like, it has nothing about what he believes in, but it's just like, here's what we're going to paint the White House as.
Nice.
Nobody cares.
Wow.
Dumbass.
But, guess who's going to be here in Fresno? Pete Buttigieg.
Ooh.
Is that the real? How the hell do you pronounce his last name? I've paid
Buttigieg.
Buttigieg.
Yeah, Buttigieg.
Yeah.
I won't remember that because I'm ignoring him anyway.
I really am. Because I'm a teacher, right? So it's really hard for me to like watch people make fun of his last name because I see that all the time with kids in the classroom. And so, I really do try to stay away, but his last name is fucking hilarious, though. Like, it's really hard not to.
It's not any worse than Anthony Weiner, or, I mean, we can't make this stuff up, right? What was the other one? Anthony Weiner. And there was another one.
We want to keep Pete away from Anthony Weiner, because we're not sure about that. He's all over the map, I think.
Yeah.
Pete needs to stay away from a lot of things, like the black community. I think we should keep him away from that. He doesn't seem to be doing great with that. Just like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they all need to just stay away from the black community altogether.
Well, earlier...
They keep going for Bernie about his support among minorities, and I just think it's so fucking hilarious. I'm like, there's a picture of him, like, getting arrested. There's a picture of him with a black woman, like, 40 years ago.
Yeah, do you guys remember... I'm sure you guys remember the Black Men for Bernie group. And they had that on the car, on the SUV, and on the van. They had that picture. And the one guy, Bruce Carter, who ended up voting for Trump, which is really odd, but I met him in Philly when we were there. But I loved the video where he was in Detroit, and he was going around to, like, these car washes and just talking to random people. And he's like, I drove all the way across the country. And he was like, who are you going to vote for? And they're like, Hillary Clinton. And he's like, come here, let me show you something. And he would pull them over and show them what he had on his, what do you call that, a wrap thing on his SUV, and with the picture. And he's like, this is Bernie Sanders chained to a black woman in whatever year that was, 60-something. And they were like, oh, but yeah, they didn't know. So that was something they did, just driving around the country, trying to tell people. But
like, what was Hillary doing during that time? Oh, that's right.
Goldwater girl.
Goldwater.
Oh yeah, she wasn't. She was on the Nixon.
Goldwater girl.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I got accused of getting Trump elected, and I was like, "Hi, I'm an immigrant that has no right to vote in America." Because I can't vote. But I had a Bernie Sanders pin on my jacket. And I I was talking to a black comic outside an open mic in Washington D.C. And he saw my pin, and we started talking about politics. And he was like, "So what do you think about Hillary Clinton?" And so I was honest, and I said she's horrific. And he laughed about it. And then I was like, "Come on, man! Like, you're black. You know what she's done to the black community." And he's like, "Yeah, she ain't done us no favors, right?" So we're kind of laughing about it a little bit. And this girl comes out, and she looks at and she's another comic, but she looks at my pin. She goes, "Oh, Bernie Sanders. Oh, Bernie Sanders. So you got Trump elected, huh? Why couldn't you vote for Hillary, huh? Why couldn't you vote for a woman?"
Where was this?
This was in D.C.
How long ago?
Right after the election, maybe a week after the election, and then she goes, "Why couldn't you just vote for someone that we told you to?" And we were like, I was just like, "Whoa, that's not how that works at all." And I was like, I have my reasons of not liking Hillary Clinton. She's like, "Name one," and I was like, "The crime bill, 3-strike law, DOMA, super predators, her economic stance, everything she's done since Bill came out of office."
It really boils down to Hillary Clinton has always done what is politically convenient for Hillary Clinton.
For Hillary Clinton,
Remember when he was the one who was leading the push for universal health care? This was not long ago. It's like he was the one who was like, healthcare should be a human right. And the fucking right wing lost their mind. Half the Democrats lost their mind. She was the one in '93 who was, tasked with by her husband with doing healthcare.
Right.
And he was like, there should be a national healthcare program.
Right. And then the health insurance industry paid her the fuck off.
Yeah, all they had to do was thank you. Yep.
Paid her to shut the fuck up.
They're like, "Hi, Hillary, this whole universal healthcare thing, we really don't like it. So shut up. Here's a check, okay?
Yes.
We're gonna make sure that
and if you'll notice, the only time she got animated during her entire campaign was when she told everybody, we will never, ever have universal health care. That's the only time she got animated.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's
wait. No, there's one other time.
What was that?
That's the why am I not 50 points ahead?
That's the only thing that I've ever seen.
Yeah, there was that.
Is that she was talking about locking up hair, and she was like, "Ha!" And it was like, that giddiness in her voice at causing other people harm. It's that sociopathic fucking tendency to.
The Gaddafi video? Is it?
Yes.
Yeah. That's horrifying.
Yeah.
That Gaddafi video is really fucking weird.
Now I just find myself wanting to play clips. You guys know that I'm gonna get in trouble. I've got queued up here Dana Carvey on Hillary Clinton and Hillary's the whole thing where she says, "Why am I not 50 points ahead?" Do you know that one?
Oh yeah.
Have you seen that? You haven't seen that? Okay, I'm gonna do it.
We don't need to fucking coronate you.
Okay, I'm gonna do it.
You have nobody, and I mean, it's the same thing. It's like we're switching the track, and it's either going to be Kamala or Joe Biden. That's who the DNC is going to go after next.
Oh yeah.
That's who they're going to prop up, and the writing on the wall for Kamala Harris was all over the place in 2017 when they were talking about her, and it was just one of those things where it was like, "Oh, you're brown Hillary Clinton. That's all you are." That's why people. That's why the DNC wants you is you support everything that Hillary does. The only difference is you're half black and half Indian. Cool. And now even your dad was like, "Hey, can you stop doing whatever the fuck you're doing? Because you're embarrassing everybody." which is like the only time I sympathized with Kamala Harris, because I was like, I get it. My Indian mom has also told me to stop doing whatever I'm doing because it's embarrassing the family.
Okay, here it is, and I just want to say before we went on the air, we were talking about saying certain things and how it might be perceived, and I, as a woman, sometimes say things that might be perceived as sexist, but I don't care. I'm just going to say that this is probably how I sound after I've asked my daughter to clean her room after 40 times, okay? And I fully admit it. But, so this is her, just going batshit. Who wants to hear this? It's frightening. It is. I actually think somebody said that. It was like reminded them of their mom yelling at them about something. You know, and I'm sorry if that's sexist, but I don't care. If it's sexist, I don't care. It's just her being herself. So here we go. We're just gonna get in trouble for playing clips today.
For playing YouTube clips.
Why not?
And bargain collectively, and I will fight back against so-called right to work. Right to work is wrong for workers and wrong for America. Now, having said all this, why aren't I 50 points ahead, you might ask? Well, the choice for working families has never been clearer. I need your help to get Donald Trump's record out to everybody. Nobody should be fooled. He proudly declared himself 100% right to work. He even hired a union-busting firm to break up an organizing campaign at his hotel in Las Vegas, where you are right now. And he built up his
well, you get the idea.
Anyway.
So,
have y'all ever seen the movie Iron Lady with Meryl Streep? It's about Margaret Thatcher.
Oh,
it's about Margaret Thatcher. And so there's one scene at the beginning where she's first, getting into politics, and they're basically like, oh my God, she's perfect. Like, she's got all these wonderful, conservative values, and she's a woman, and, et cetera, et cetera. And so they're like, but she can't talk for shit, right? And so they start working with her on her diction and her, the way that she puts the emphasis on certain words and, the shrillness of her voice, right? We always hear about how, women can be shrill or whatever. And they're working with her on all this stuff, right? Hillary Clinton reminds me of Meryl Streep playing Margaret Thatcher before the lessons. Like, bitch, what are you doing? Why are you putting emphasis on all the wrong words to make my ears fucking bleed?
Yeah, your ears are bleeding.
I can't follow anything that she's saying because I'm so focused on why the fuck is she talking like that?
Yeah, right. Right. Like when I told the Airbnb guy, I said, please just we'll call it even. Just don't listen to my messages. Because I'm like, I probably sounded like that. I was so pissed off.
That's the thing with her is I really try to find the positive in everybody. I really do, right? And usually I can try to find the positive in something. Like even Margaret Thatcher put out an arts fund because she was like, oh, if we have more availability of arts, people will probably see that the conservative way is the right way to go. And it's like, oh man, you really don't get artists, do you? We don't want any of the traditional values. Do we want to be out there and weird and shit? We want to do a show about masturbating in public, and it's just okay. It's like that's not what conservatives want. So she completely fucked that up. But it's like that's a positive thing. You opened it up. You gave theaters in England so much money that they didn't know what to do with, and it bred a whole crew of European comedians that took a bunch of risks because they could, right?
Yes.
So Margaret Thatcher did something really cool and interesting, being that she's from the conservative side of things. I don't really find anything positive with Hillary Clinton.
Look, there isn't.
Oh, but wait, Hillary helped funnel money to the down ballot candidates when Bernie didn't. Oh, wait, no, that got sucked back up into the. Never mind. Sorry.
Oh wait, no, that didn't.
Yeah, and it's kind of even Trump kind of had a couple of wins, right? Like even if you look at some of the policies that he ran on, the day after he got elected, if you go on his website, one of the first things on his website was term limits for Congress, and I was like, awesome, fucking great, holy shit, are you actually gonna do it? It's questionable,
right.
but it got close.
Guess who was tweeting who earlier? You'll never guess the two, right?
Who?
So AOC was tweeting fucking Ted Cruz earlier of all people, and they were talking about having a bipartisan bill to stop the revolving door. So for those who don't know, the revolving door.
No shit.
No shit.
That's awesome.
Wow. See, that's what the establishment is scared shit of.
The reason why Ted Cruz would be in favor of that is because who the fuck's going to hire him after he's out of Congress? So he realizes he's screwed anyway. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Maybe so.
nobody's going to hire his ugly ass after him.
Yeah, I just want,
Costco. It might be Costco.
He was my senator for like 3 years or 4 years when I lived in Texas, and I was like literally like I was used to having, you know, this is back to when I was a good little neoliberal, right? So I was used to having Democratic heroes like Barbara Boxer and Dianne Feinstein, you know, real women who really fit.
you wait.
That's my senator.
You have a glisten in your eye when you. Sorry. Oh, you froze.
There is some sparkle.
Okay.
There is some sparkle.
I'm thinking back to my glory days when I was a great little neoliberal that was like, oh my gosh, the Democrats are so saving us from like so many things.
I think everybody got driven through that phase.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then I started doing, you know, critical thinking analysis, and I realized, oh no, they're not, right?
No.
But Ted Cruz and AOC though, they were tweeting back and forth, and AOC
Wow.
was like, if you're, you know, and what I really appreciate about her, and we can, you know, have a whole show just about her and the appeal that she's had and the disagreements that we have with her maybe on things. But what I really appreciate about her is her knowledge of how the system works already, right? So she was very quick to tell him, if you want a clean bill without these things that are normally part of, you know, the pork making process in Washington, if you want that, I'm down to work with you. And Ted Cruz apparently said that he was all for it for introducing the Senate version of the bill.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that turns out.
There are going to be things that the Tea Party and some of us on the actual left agree on, and a lot of that is, you know, getting stopping the military-industrial complex, getting money out of politics. I mean, and so what? We shouldn't be demonized for finding that common ground with those people. It doesn't mean we agree with them on the other crazy stuff they believe in.
Yeah, I mean, when you boil it down,
Absolutely.
anytime you deal with the populace, they're mostly talking about what is beneficial to the people of whatever nation they're running towards, right? That's basically what populists do. And I feel like both Trump and Bernie were saying that in 2016, is like, what I'm talking about is good for the people. Now, there was a lot more of, it was a lot more bombastic when Trump did it than when Bernie did it, because Bernie was like, here's the policies. And Trump was like, I can kill somebody and it'll be fine.
Right.
Which is like, whoa, it's not. That's crazy. We lost the message there. I think we took a weird left turn. But at the end of the day, what Trump was talking to, or who Trump was talking to, was just average citizens, just like Bernie was.
Yeah.
Where I don't think that was ever the case with anything Hillary was doing. Or any of the other Democratic or Republican candidates were doing. Surely not Ted Cruz.
No, and earlier, who was saying, you told someone about in D.C. that you wouldn't vote for Hillary because of X, all those list of things. I'm sorry, Brian, you have to hear my same things a million times. I like to talk about how I was vote shamed by the former ambassador to Russia, Michael McFaul, who is a Stanford professor. And late one night, 2 o'clock in the morning here, Eastern time, I was on Twitter and I had jumped in this thread. It was a WikiLeaks thread. And all of a sudden, this McFaul guy is responding to me in this thread also. And he says, oh, you're in North Carolina. And it was about WikiLeaks, and then it turned political, who you're voting for. And he proceeded to, for 3 nights in a row, late at night, basically try to vote shame me into voting for Hillary Clinton. And I said, I would no more vote for Hillary Clinton than I will Mitt Romney. And he's like, why? You're in North Carolina. Your vote. He ended up telling me he hoped my vote didn't count.
Wow.
No kidding. So
I'm like, neoliberals are the worst kind of people. Though.
Yeah, they really are.
They really are.
You are not lying. You're not lying.
Part of California. I live in the Bible Belt of California, right? Like, I live in a very Republican, Trump
Wait, where are you?
part of California.
Where exactly are you?
Oh, I live in Tulare County, which is in the central area of the state. So I'm about 45 minutes south of Fresno, which is the nearest major city. Fresno is also known as hell on earth. If you ever want to go to a place that's fucking terrible, you can go to Fresno. Yeah, it's, very, very much Trump country, right? And so, but I can talk with a Republican. I can sit down and talk with a Tea Partier, and the chances are that we are not going to have a conversation that they are going to make me feel any type of way, or that I'm going to make them feel any type of way. The chances are we're probably going to go, hey, you know what? It's crazy. We actually, like you were saying, Kelly, have common ground on these things.
Yes.
We agree on, right?
Yes.
But with the neoliberals, it's never fucking good enough.
They are worse.
It's never good enough for them.
They are worse than what I explain it is 10, 15 years ago, talking to the Fox News viewers where I felt like I was beating my head against the wall and I couldn't get through. It pales in comparison to trying to talk to MSNBC viewers now.
Logic.
You cannot penetrate it. It's like
my brother, who worked on Hillary's campaign, is somebody I cannot discuss anything political with, because he just does not live in the same reality at all.
But what
His
tactics?
Is so different from mine. It's not even funny.
What do you find, though, when you guys attempt these conversations with those people and just trying to get them to understand? Like, I try to explain it like we want the same things. What I say is, you're still thinking that the corporate candidate is going to, I'm just past where you are. Not to be condescending, but I was where you are. But I find they get loud, interrupt, and then it's similar to the old conversations with the Fox News viewers where it would turn into a personal attack eventually. Like, you just keep presenting the facts.
The Fox News viewers don't do the personal attacks anymore.
Right.
No, they don't.
Isn't that weird? But is that your experience? Yeah. Do you find what are the stages of, if you try to debate with them, what do you find happens like as you go along?
So I think almost always there's an opening salvo, right? So it's, you crazy liberals, and I'm like, let me stop you right there, sir. Okay. Number one, I'm not a liberal. I'm a progressive. There's a difference. Okay. Crazy, I can accept that. Go on. There's always that opening salvo. It's always you crazy liberals, right? And so I just kind of let that one go. I think that's always the opening stage. But then I really try to listen to what is it that they're saying, right?
Wait, are you talking about talking to neoliberals or the right?
I was talking with the right. I didn't know you meant neoliberals. Well, neoliberals. Oh God,
that's a little bit more challenging.
Always,
that's a lot more challenging.
A battle of assumptions, right? It's almost always you are this kind of person coming from them, right? It's almost always well, then you must have done this, or you must. It's this accusatory, presumptive way about their conversation. It's never, who did you vote for then in 2016 after Bernie lost? Who did you vote for?
Right.
It's never that. It's, you must have done. Always that, like you were saying, the mother talking down to a child sort of thing. Oh, you must have not done what I told you to do. It's that tone to it with their interactions, at least in my experience.
So how do we get through? What do we do?
I have two examples. Right after the election, I played Athens, Georgia. I performed in Athens, Georgia. Not a great show. The turnout was great. Well, the turnout was great, right? UGA, it's a pretty weird little, but they're anytime I play.
And the B-52s.
That's right. That's all they have.
That is all they have.
But it was literally 2 days after the election. A lot of these people were depressed and expecting me to go on stage and spend an hour shitting on Trump. And instead I was like, you guys remember how we still have all these problems we need to still fight about? Like, that we can do it together, maybe, if we all stopped calling each other pieces of shit for voting for the Green Party. Maybe we stopped doing that.
You had a crash and burn.
I had 4 audience members walk out of my show very politely after tipping the bartender. So I appreciated that. I appreciated that they tipped the bartender and didn't cause a ruckus. But
more power to Krish, everybody.
it was a beautiful moment, and within 6 minutes, these women realized this is not the show for us. And I was like, good. I knew that when you came up to me and said that we're all girls that want to have a good time, and I'm like, you're 60. And I was like, you're not. I have nothing that you're gonna agree with, like nothing.
Right.
So after that, I went to Huntsville, and we're after the show. I ended up crashing with some friends, and we're all eating breakfast. And a comic buddy of mine was livid about the election. Livid. It's 4 days after the election. He's livid, and he was like, these fucking Green Party voters. That's who did it. That's who did it. You couldn't have just fucking voted for Hillary. Just bit your tongue. I mean, I bit my tongue. And this, and he kind of went off and he was like, I'm a veteran. This bitch fucking put us to war. She does all these things. Like, I'm against her. But I had to defeat Trump, and that's what I did. And the two people who had just met me, by the way, and let me stay at their house, looked at my friend and said, hey, we both voted for the Green Party. And immediately there was like this look of like shock in his face. Yeah, right. Exactly. Right. And I look over to them and I said, go on. And they said, look, all we wanted to do was help them get funding. And immediately my comic friend looked over and he goes, oh, is that why people did that? And we were like,
Ugh.
Yeah, dude. A lot of people knew that Jill Stein's not going to win. What they wanted was the party to fucking matter. And he kind of just stayed silent for a few minutes, right? Now, it's been a work in progress. The album I'm putting out, I guess technically today, but the album I'm putting out has a story about my Trump supporting uncle, right? My wife's uncle, who's a Trump supporter.
Is he still now?
Oh, I think so. So is her. So is
Are they paying
our dad.
attention? Are they following what he's doing?
They're following what Fox News tells them to. Yeah. Has no understanding of what real immigration is. Has an understanding until he met me, right? So now I'm just new perspective on immigration and a couple different things. So now we're introducing different ideas to him. But the point remains is that's questionable. It's questionable. We have him agreeing that climate change is a man-made problem. It's a big deal. But so with my friend, we kind of were explaining to him like what the situation is with this guy. Like, even though he voted for Trump, like, he's still a good dude, right? Like, he's a person that just wants to take care of his family. And he's like, yeah, I guess I get that. And I was like, yeah, but he still voted for Trump because he thought that this guy was going to get him to help his family or whatever.
Right.
So it's a work in progress from these sort of mainstream MSNBC, stand and deliver kind of ideas that you just have to fall in line with because MSNBC is a liberal outlet. And this is what speaks to my people. And it's like, no, go listen to Democracy Now! Because they cover a little bit more objectively than MSNBC does. Yeah. Now, separately, I have my friends in Cincinnati who are huge fans of Rachel Maddow. One of the first conversations I know.
I was going to do my Rachel.
Oh, I know.
Do it.
Well, give me a minute. Go on.
Okay. Yeah. So this is about 3 years ago that they were so excited that Rachel Maddow is getting the traction that she is because she's a lesbian, right? She's a lesbian that's on cable news and she's doing all this thing. It's big representation. We're so excited, blah, blah, blah. So slowly we have these conversations, and the most recently, this was January, and we had this conversation where I just said, I don't think Rachel's doing okay. Right? That's how I opened the conversation. I said, look, if you're a real fan of Rachel Maddow, you should be worried.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think she's doing all right.
Sounds
And I-
like Glenn
Remember
Beck.
when Rachel was
Minus the pegs and the
brand
red
at one
string.
point in time.
What?
Right.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just
No,
gonna
no.
say Rachel was the firebrand at one point. Remember when she was that liberal?
Yeah.
That true progressive voice. I remember when she would say things that the other
Okay.
MSNBC hosts would look at her and go, wait.
Okay, I got a
she
story,
said that.
though.
That's who she was.
Do you remember? So she was on Air America. You can go back and look
Yeah.
again, YouTube. Look it up. There's an Air America. One of the first ones that pops up when I do a search on YouTube is an Air America episode with her and Chuck D. But I'm pretty sure it was Randy Credico that said something about, well, yeah, we could tell, like she would sell out, like just her tactics, even when she was on Air America. So it wasn't like surprising to a lot of people that worked with her apparently. Whereas I kept looking at it and saying, look at what she used to do. This kind of shows like anybody in independent media could fall into this easily. Look what happened with
Yeah.
most
She's a
of
Rhodes
TYT.
Scholar. Let's not pretend like she doesn't have the connections with the right people. She's a Rhodes Scholar.
Right.
And she went to Oxford, right? She
Right.
did the whole
Right.
continental exchange
Mhm.
went to Oxford. So it's not like she doesn't know the people that would get her in the position to sell out when she.
Right.
you
And
know, got
let's
her-
face it, how many people in this country, in this capitalist country we live in, how many people can actually stick to it, to their principles, and not sell out? I think it's very
hard.
small.
It's
I think
very difficult. Yeah, but I mean, to the point.
Sorry.
I mean, what I was saying is, I basically pointed out Rachel's not doing well, and she I don't legitimately don't think she is,
Mhm.
right? But the question I asked them is, do you guys legitimately believe that Russia stole our election? And they said, well, here's what we've seen on her show. And I said, no. Do you guys believe that? And they're like, well, I was like, okay.
I mean,
So-
2.5 years she's gone
Right.
on about this.
Right.
For nothing.
So that's when these people that kind of believe these neoliberal
Yeah.
ideologies, I looked at them and I said, Rachel's not doing okay.
Right. Right.
Do you guys really think this is happening?
Remember when she spent her whole show hyping up the one page of the tax return?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
Do you
yeah,
know-
I remember that.
Now we're hyping that up.
Yeah.
That's not what rational, sane people do.
Mm-mm.
It isn't.
That
No,
is
it
the
isn't.
one time I have heard from my ex-liberal attorney friend here in Chapel Hill. We have not talked in over a year since we no, excuse me, it's 2 years now since she wanted me to back her up on an argument with her Trumpian neighbors, and I told her, you're not going to like what I have to say, and we had a back and forth, and then we didn't talk. And except one time after that, and it was about, she said something about that very thing, about she gets it, and the Rachel Maddow with the tax return thing, that was where she kind of was going, oh, like, but then that was it. We didn't talk anymore after that, because I don't have the energy to fight with people like that. I just, it's exhausting. So, you know, but I do think some people, they're educated. We're talking about upper middle class, neoliberal, educated people. I mean, I live I'm right by UNC. I live surrounded by these people. They know better. They have to know better. They have to be thinking to themselves, okay, I'm watching this MSNBC. This is my brand. This is what I believe in. But they're not providing me evidence. At what point do sane, rational people start to question what they hear? No matter, even if it's a previous trusted source, at some point you start going, wait a minute, this isn't adding up, right?
When you stop thinking out of fear,
Mm-hmm.
you have to stop thinking out of fear.
Right.
And I think Rachel Maddow, like we said earlier, is doing exactly what Glenn Beck did when Obama got elected.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
She
It's
just
the
needs
same
the
thing.
pegboard and the red
She
string.
just doesn't have a chalkboard.
When is she going to start crying on TV?
It's the same.
Right?
It's
I
the
thought
same
she
damn-
did cry.
Did she
Didn't
start
she
crying?
Hasn't
Yeah.
she cried?
She has. She has.
Has she? Okay.
Oh,
I mean,
she's cried a
at that
few
point,
times. there's a compilation of her on YouTube. I'm pretty sure of her.
She has cried.
at that point, somebody should have just been like, let's just hug Rachel. That should be the next show. The next show is just hugging Rachel for 37 minutes. You
I
know, we'll
think
throw some
there's-
commercial breaks in there.
Who knows what the real
That should be
story?
the whole fucking show.
Who knows what the real story is with a lot of them? But
The
if-
real story is that she makes $33,000
Right.
an episode. That's
Right.
all we need to
Yeah,
know.
Oh,
But at
she's
some
a million.
point,
$30,000 an episode. I mean,
but at some point the gig is up. And do you want to go down with a ship? And that's your reputation and your name and everything. I guess you don't care if you've raked in that much cash. But
if you're making, that's the thing. She's making so much money, she doesn't care. She knows that she's set for
It
life
doesn't.
after this anyway.
Yeah.
Her reputation isn't gonna
Right.
matter.
It doesn't matter.
There's the Bible proverb, right?
It's like when Obama made all this hoopla about his legacy. He doesn't give a shit about his legacy. He was walking away with millions and millions of dollars. He didn't give a shit about his legacy.
it's sad but true.
To him.
Wait, tell us the Bible verse. What?
Oh yeah, I'm just gonna, there's a Bible verse, right? And it's conflated in our society, and we say money is the root of all evil, but the actual the root behind that is the love of money is the root of all evil. The love of money is not evil if it's put to good use, right? It's a very construct of our society. It's when you have a love for money, when you value that above everything else, it causes you to do things that you would never do if that were not part of the equation.
Yeah.
Rachel Maddow is a great example of that. I mean, $33,000 an episode. You know, I remember that was probably at one point when she was on Air America, that was probably her yearly salary or half of it.
Right.
You know?
Yes.
So
yeah.
to go for that, you know.
But why don't people? I mean, you can't take it with you. Really, you can't take it with you. I mean, what does money mean? At some point, how is that more important than your integrity?
Here's how I see it. This is their outlook. The world's going to hell, and they know this. Okay, climate change is going to hit us like a ton of bricks, all of us. So they're thinking that their money is going to shore them up, so that they won't have to deal with.
They can buy the bottled water.
Right. They'll be able to afford the necessities while the rest of us will basically wither away and go extinct. So that's their plan, apparently.
Part of it, you know,
there's a major flaw in that. There are a hell of a lot more of us than there are of them.
Well, that's true.
Well, also, I think it's interesting. I've been saying this for about a year now. Why is Elon Musk trying to send fucking cars into space? What the fuck is that about, right? And I think it's interesting that all of a sudden we're seeing a lot more space exploration. All of a sudden we have funding for the Space Corps, and all of a sudden we have all these planets that they're not that far away after all. And to me, it's like I can see what they think they're planning.
They want to get off this rock.
Yeah.
But they are going to leave or try to leave this planet the minute fucking shit hits the fan. They're going to try to leave, and mark my words, it's going to backfire. It's not going to work out the way that they think it is.
Because here's the thing: how much are you paying the engineers to build your rocket?
Enough, maybe.
Well, the engineers are probably getting paid pretty well, but they probably don't know exactly what the plan is. That's the problem. But at the end of the day, you know, there is more of us than there is of them, and this is. I'm completely against this idea of looking for a new planet. Why?
Yes.
Why would we want to go look for a new planet so we can trash another one?
100% with you.
Right, and become a virus on a universal scale?
Right.
That's ridiculous.
True.
This planet's been trying to get rid of us.
To the stars, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. This planet's been trying to get rid of us for at least a decade.
I think it was
unsuccessfully.
To wrap it back around to Jon Stewart, I remember him saying, the planet doesn't care about what we do. We're like a rash.
Yeah.
It'll just like
It'll
shrug it
fucking
off.
get rid of us.
Yeah. Right?
Yes.
It'll get rid of us.
Right.
And it's
Now,
working. These storms.
There's a hole in that theory, though, too. There's a hole in that. The hole in that is that we have all these nuclear power plants around the planet that if they are not maintained properly, they could make this planet uninhabitable for millions of years.
Yeah.
That's
true.
no joke. They could make this planet uninhabitable.
We have a nuclear power plant like an hour from here. I guess they're all over, but there's a pretty...
There's one about 5 minutes from my parents' place.
I
in
remember
the suburbs.
when we first lived there, this was back in 2003, we got letters in the mail, and I was pregnant with Zoe at the time, and it was like, in the event of this, I don't know, leak or something happening, you need to take these iodine pills. And I was like, what? We're that close to this thing? Like, I didn't even know. Yeah. So it's the Harris nuclear plant, something down.
Well, we've got the San Onofre plant. It's not.
Yeah,
not
Ray
too-
Lutz posts a lot about that.
Now, here's the thing. There is a direct connection between that power plant, which is now demolished, and Kamala Harris.
Okay.
The link is this. Kamala Harris had on her docket a lawsuit, a class action suit against the company that built it because they did not properly maintain it. Here's the thing. She sat on it until the statute of limitations expired.
Mm.
Wow. It's amazing what we can uncover now. But
Yep.
you know what's even more amazing? The amount of people that still don't fucking listen to it when you do uncover stuff. It's all there. It's all, we're not in the dark anymore.
That the elites, as they call them, right? The elites, they continue to underestimate us
Right.
in that sense as well.
Right.
And I think that the really interesting thing is they gave us the internet, right? And then they probably thought, hey, bread and circuses. If we give them this, they'll get so stuck on porn or YouTube or and most people do. But
Yeah.
guess what?
But
The
look at
internet
us.
Is not.
Look at what we're doing. I mean, it's
we're
1
obsessed with
o'clock.
this
I
shit,
mean,
right?
no,
Yeah.
but I'm saying, look at our conversation and what we're doing. And I know there aren't. I wish more people would tune in, not because I want to push a channel, but because I want more people to talk about this stuff. But
Yeah.
look at. I mean, it's not just there are a lot of people doing a lot of good work that I think it is spreading.
I think the tides are turning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think the tides are
It is.
turning. I think a lot more people are informed. What the real battle that we have with people that become informed is how do we get them to care? Because part of the problem is there's already so many stresses for them to deal with when you start talking about
Yeah.
healthcare, Venezuela, or foreign affairs. They're just like, I don't have time. I'm trying to get to work. I got to put food on the table.
Because
my
we have
kid
to
needs
make it
Pop-Tarts.
clear.
You know, like
Right. We have to make it clear, like, why all of this is connected to all of
Right.
what they're talking about. And I just said I was promoting a show, but I am going to plug something. And again, it's really just because I want to have the conversation. There's a guy named Dave that does a channel. Check it out. It's called Save America, Vote Tulsi Gabbard. And I just happened upon him. I don't even remember how, but he is a former Republican, voted for Trump, very much independent, and very, very much for Tulsi Gabbard and a Tulsi Gabbard platform. And he and we did one live stream. We just chatted about all kinds of things. And then I said, hey, I really want to kind of pick your brain. I mean, I know because I come from on one side of my family is Republican, and I know. I mean, I've lived in the South a long time. I don't think I think I'm pretty in touch with how a lot of independent-leaning, right-leaning people think. But so I asked him to take a look at the candidate contracts, the CFAR and CWAC, and also Movement for a People's Party platform, and we're going to kind of go over it. And like, what things do you agree with? What things do you think your viewers agree with? And what things are just like things that, okay, we're not going to agree on abortion. Okay, and even though I believe, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong. I know we talked about this, but it fell out of my head. I think Dave is religious, but he doesn't think we should go backwards, in laws and stuff.
Right.
Am I right? Okay. So he's not unreasonable, right? He has his own personal views on it, even though he doesn't have a vagina. But anyway, he's entitled to his views on that, right? But so there are these issues that we're not going to see eye to eye on, but you can look and you can see. It sounds crazy, but AOC and Ted Cruz got together and agreed on something. And when you said that, I thought of, wasn't there an episode of Tucker Carlson where AOC and I think Bernie were on and they were agreeing about public banking?
They weren't on the episode, but he was talking about how he agreed with AOC and Bernie.
Yeah, so
And he
that's
called
Tucker
them,
Carlson.
but he also called them childish socialists while he did it. But it was like, man,
if you just
almost perfect.
If you just put the bow tie back on, then it would be better because you could take him less seriously. But no, I mean, they're like the public banking thing. I mean, that's another thing. If you talk to most regular people, they would probably be like, yeah, I'm sick of Bank of America jerking me around for an overdraft fee because my check came in 45 minutes after the payment.
Yeah,
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. We can see eye to eye with people on this. So next Friday, sometime, I don't know when, Dave likes to do daytime. So as late as I can make it. He's laughing. He knows me. I'm like, 10 p.m.? Sure. 10 a.m.? But anyway, we're going to do it as late as I know. I live on Pacific time, even though I'm in North Carolina. But so we're going to, it's sometime next Friday, and Dave and I are just going to sit there and hash out all of the platform, the issues, and hear what he has to say and how do we come up with something where more people, we can have consensus. And so, yeah, it should be good. And his channel is excellent. I think he is so level-headed and spot on with so many things. But yeah.
I am going to turn in. For
yeah,
the evening
I'm about to. Yeah, you have to drive all the way to Knoxville.
tomorrow.
You're going to be like, damn it, Kelly, you gave me 2 of those.
No, I'll be all right. I think John's making coffee tomorrow.
Oh,
so I've got that all
yeah, go
set.
to bed.
It was nice to
6
see everybody.
hours?
Like 5.
Nice seeing you too, Chris.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Thanks for hanging out.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out. This was a super fun chat.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Follow everybody on the old.
Okay, good night, everyone. It was so fun. I hope we do this again soon.
We need to.
Yeah.
Months go by.
Do what?
Next time, let's not let 2 months go by.
Exactly.
Yes.
Let's not do that. We need to make it a regular, just goof off, talk about whatever session.
Yeah, this is fun.
Absolutely. Oh, thanks.
Have Moscow meals.
Yes. Well, and I do want to talk. I try on my weekday thing to be serious with the candidate contracts. Look like I know what I'm talking about. Do interview questions. But no, I do want to talk to you more about. I know you're not running until 2022. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, but you're gearing up. You're gearing up for it. What?
Can you hear me okay, by the way? Is my volume still
It's a little low, but go ahead.
I figured, I'm like, I feel like, because I could see you guys kind of leaning forward a little
bit,
but yeah, the volume situation, I don't know what is going on. I don't know if it's because I'm inside or what, but
you know what? We'll figure it out before next time. Let's run some tests on the audio and we'll figure it out. Because you're so damn funny. I want people to be able to hear you. So.
Oh, I know. And you know what? I'm not that great with computers. And so I'll make sure to get on my Chromebook next time maybe.
Okay.
And that will help solve the issue. I was trying to do it when I was off the call with y'all, and I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing.
It's okay.
But I also did kind of wake up randomly, and like I said, I have a million messages and stuff to get to. But I'd love to really go into some. And I want to tell you, Brian, I think it's so funny that all of these stories about Kamala Harris keep coming out, and it's always either that she took the most extreme option in favor of punishment of someone who probably didn't need that, or it's that she took the most lenient option
when power and money were involved.
Yeah, how is that?
And to me, that is just it's so strange that that is her modus operandi of the way that she was a prosecutor, and that she's proud of it. To me, that is you are a warped individual if you think that what you did is something to look at and say and be proud of and say that's what I will do as president. To me, that's insane. Yeah.
But they all keep doing it.
Oh, just one more.
Yeah. Oh, hey, you know what? I'm gonna end the live. But we're still on. But we're still on Zoom. But I'm ending the live thing. Okay. So we're offline. So for your public position and your private position, you can say whatever you want.